Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Transatlantic Call-In Show. This is the show where you, the viewer, get to call in and talk to two trans people about all your questions, anything and everything trans, whether you are an ally who just doesn't get that one thing, or a family member with an uncomfy question you can't ask your trans loved one, or if you are a person who just doesn't get trans healthcare at all. We'd be happy to talk to you and try to answer your questions to the best of our ability. My name is Arden Hart, and with me today is special guest Riverboat Jack. What's going on?
Howdy, I'm so excited to be here. First time.
Yes.
Can't wait to see how this goes. Also, I'd never heard the intro music before, and I really dig it. I was rocking out.
Yeah, we've had that for years. It's probably gonna get updated soon, but yeah, it's pretty rocking. We had for a while. Katie actually wrote a sweet metal riff that she did, and there was a little what do you call it? The beeps that mean words, like a dot and a long. Why am I blanking?
I don't know what the beeps that mean words mean.
chat, help me. That do that kind of thing.
Yeah, Morse code.
Morse code. It was Morse code. Thank you. I couldn't remember. Oops. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. Why don't you let the people who don't know who you are, and what you do, and where they can find you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, my name's Jack. I'm a trans lady, and she, her pronouns, if anyone's wondering. And I talk about politics and the news. I stream basically every weeknight, and I'm a socialist. I don't know if that's relevant to anybody. And I believe in trans rights and socialism and, human rights for all. So that's kind of my whole bag, I guess, if I had to really distill it down. And former, I guess, video game journalist, if anyone is interested about that. So,
ooh, I am curious about that, but you're going to fit in perfectly here then. That is our jam. We do like to talk about video games and animation from time to time. Although, I don't know how much your audience loves the video game and animation talk, but I personally love it, and this is my show, so listen, I'll drive down the numbers for my pleasure from time to time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to host a show with you. I know the audience has been asking to have you on for actual years. Somebody said Arden's ADHD brain fog machine go brrr. Yes, that did just happen live in action. Welcome to the inside of my head. But yeah, so it's super exciting. We get you here and we get to talk to some callers today. I do see calls are lining up. So I just want to remind everyone, the number is 720-619-2288. Or if you are out of the US or Canada, there is also a web link in the description. So you can call it and ask us whatever questions you have. Housekeeping announcements and stuff. This week, we are doing LineCon online. That is our special exclusive patron events. It's going to feature Erica Gibbon, John Gleason, and Dr. Ben from our very own TACIS here this weekend. So if you want to see small 20-minute presentations, like a mini convention, you can go check that out on our Patreon. And we'll get some clips from that posted here this weekend as well. So yeah, those are my primary announcements. If you guys don't know, we like to do some polls here at the beginning of the show just to kind of rope in some current events, talk about anything important, or potentially give you guys an opportunity to discuss any relevant topics. So last week's poll was, whose approach to trans rights do you prefer, the Democrats or the Republicans? With 96% saying the Democrats and 4% saying the Republicans. 10,000 votes. So this came from right after the blue tsunami we had on election day on the 4th. It was a week and a half ago now. Time escapes me.
Time's last all meeting. It's fine.
There were some exit polls that were kind of asking people whose approach they preferred on the trans issue. And amongst a bunch of demographics, people seemed to prefer the Democrats. It wasn't by quite as an astounding margin as this, but that's to be expected with our audience. So no shock there. Yeah, and so that was last week's poll. And then we can... Or did you have any thoughts on that? How did you feel about the election and how all that went down?
Oh, it was great. I was not going in expecting quite as much of a blowout. as it
Yeah.
wound up being, but I've been like I think that there are only like a handful of races that like Democrats lost. It's a little bit I'm a little bit salty about it because my candidate in like my local mayoral election in Minneapolis didn't win, but like the guy who did win isn't a Republican. So, like it's not like a whole it's not like the worst thing in the world, but also I'm just kind of like, screw that guy.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that. Texas was weird. We had 17 ballot propositions and they voted yes
Oh
on every single one, which like doesn't make sense and really shows you that I don't think anyone really read what they were voting for when they got in. I'm like, not all of these are good. And they're also not like, they don't become law. Like in a lot of cases, they basically enable our legislation to make laws about it. Like our constitution previously restricted it. And now like they kind of like are able to make laws about things. It's weird. Um, there were a few ones that were really good and really exciting. And then there were ones that I knew were going to pass, but were really depressing. Like, I think it was Proposition 15 in Texas was basically saying that language reaffirming that parents are the primary decision maker of their child, which I assume you understand kind of what that sounds like. It's clearly some Republican framing to try to enable parents to restrict kids' access to transition care, to like books in their schools and things like this. Um,
But also like legally parents kind of already had that. It's
yep.
just like it's almost just like a conservative virtue signal that you decided to like elevate to the level of constitutional state amendment.
Yeah, this was even the like Travis County Dems, a group who does like, they issue a voter guide and stuff like that. Were like, this language isn't necessary. This is already the case under Texas law. So, and this language is just trying to reaffirm conservative control. So, like, we should vote no on this. But it's just the way it was worded. I just knew in my gut it was going to pass because even well-meaning libs are going to walk into the thing and read that and go, sure, why shouldn't parents be the primary decision maker, and not realizing all of the consequences that come downstream from that. So
Yeah,
it was,
it's one of those things where it's just like it is made to sound reasonable,
mhm.
whereas any of us who actually know like what is being signaled there, we're just kind of like, oh man, more of this bullshit.
Yeah. It's definitely frustrating, but I do understand why things like that pass. And I don't know, it doesn't necessarily mean anything bad yet, but it does definitely mean, excuse me, that something bad is likely coming down the pipeline in the next legislative session here in Texas. So we will see how that pans out. In the meantime, this week's poll, which I'm going to put in chat, and then we're going to probably go take some calls, and then we'll come back to it after we get some results from the chat,
Excited.
is with the new Epstein emails, will MAGA still say trans people are a bigger threat to children than Donald Trump? So this one should be pretty easy for you guys, I imagine. But yes, that will be going up in the chat here in just a moment. And we're going to move on to take some calls in the meantime. Let's see. Okay. We have a self-proclaimed TERF in the calls who is referred to us as the guys. So this would be interesting. Okay, no, actually, yeah, I definitely want to take this. We're going to talk to Sarah in New York. Unless you're a hard no on that.
Oh no, go for it.
Good. We'll start with some spice. Sarah from New York, who has no pronouns, has some questions for us. So Sarah, you're live on the line with Arden and Jack. What's going on?
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, so I just moved to New York City 6 months ago from Europe, and I had some questions because I'm learning all about like tranny people, and I've been told to like call this phone number because I think I was saying something.
All right, so you just randomly dropped a slur, so I'm going to mute you. You have an American accent, and you just moved here from Europe. You're the most obvious fraudulent troll I've ever heard in my entire life. Do you want to just drop your Baba Booey and run so we can like have this sorted?
No, I swear.
Also, I've never heard I've never heard like the slur combined that way.
I know.
Like that's you're breaking some new ground here, and it's impressive.
No, I swear, I'm trying to be as good faith as possible.
Wow, convincing. All right, can you give us a real question so we can at least have some content, and then we'll let you go?
Yeah. Okay. So one, why don't like trans people require evidence of who they say they are? So like, if you're a doctor, you have to have evidence you went to medical school. Why don't a person that claims they're a woman not have to have any evidence?
So, multiple problems with even just the framing of the question. In order to access care, you absolutely do need to have some kind of evidence. However, when we're talking about evidence in a clinical setting, usually that is just someone's self-report, and that's not unique to trans issues. That's just true of all clinical diagnostics, like even with pain or with depression or anything like that. Clinical diagnosis is considered sufficient for diagnostics and care in those cases. When it comes to accessing spaces or anything like that, in many cases, there are thresholds you have to meet. For a lot of sports leagues, you have to have some kind of testosterone level. For access to social spaces like bathrooms, those have always been socially enforced, even when they were framed as sex spaces. Nobody was investigating your genitals or your chromosomes at any level to access those spaces. People just looked at you, made assumptions, and then reacted accordingly.
Okay, so but like you're saying you don't need physical evidence to be trans. That's what you're saying?
Crazy that that's what you got out of that. And this is why I don't think you're real at all. I don't know, Jack, do you want to like dish on any of this, or?
I guess it kind of sounds like you're trying to talk about like, do people need evidence to self-identify as a gender? Is that kind of your question?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, do you need evidence to identify as like a Minnesota Vikings fan? Like, not really. Like, you can identify as the fan of a sports team, right? But when we're talking about gender, in a similar way, you don't necessarily need evidence to decide I am a woman or I am a man. Like, you just do identify. And like, I guess, is your problem here that like individuals are just identifying in a way you don't like or don't understand? Like, what is the issue?
Well, I guess, I've been kind of deconstructing from my religion. So like I was raised in like a very, like Christian household, like, and so when I started like deconstructing and I saw like some like Matt Gillahunty videos, like he always kept talking about evidence, like people have to have evidence to believe in a God. And so I was thinking like, well, shouldn't people have evidence if they're trans?
So the difference between a God belief and being trans is that when you're saying I believe in a God, you're saying I believe in an entity who has an impact on physical reality. You're making a claim about the nature of the universe. Whereas when I say I'm trans, I'm conveying to you something about my internal state, my experiences. I don't need, it's impossible for me to give you evidence of my internal mental states.
Okay, so but like if I go to the doctor, I have to have evidence I'm a woman to get like a pap smear. So I have lots of evidence that I'm a woman, but it seems like a guy doesn't need evidence if he claims he's a woman.
But like in the situation where someone's getting a pap smear, you don't actually need evidence that you're a woman to get a pap smear. You just need the parts in order to get a pap smear, right? Like they're not like checking your woman card when you come in. They're checking your physical body, right?
No, so well,
yeah, no, that is how that happens. You said no, but you're just wrong. So I'm sorry. I would give you more room to have an honest conversation. But when you came in saying you're from Europe with an American accent, you're so obviously fake and a troll. I just cannot give you any room to take this seriously. It's genuinely like so embarrassing that you actually called in with this. Actually, wait. Yeah, can we have proof that you're from Europe? Give us proof that you're from Europe.
What do you need? What do you want?
Proof. What would you expect from trans people?
What would I I don't understand the question.
Yeah.
Like, how can I prove something? What do you mean?
Prove you're from Europe. You want proof from trans people. I'm saying prove you're from Europe.
Well, I have my my family there. I have my
You're saying that. I don't know if that's true. You could be lying about all of that.
passport. But I could show it to you. Like, if we were in the same room, I'd be able to show it to you.
Maybe. You have an American accent, though.
I'd be able to, like,
At
show you,
best, you
like,
could be
my
from
Facebook
Canada.
page with my parents.
Well, so are you trying to tell us you identify as a European?
Well, so, I mean, I traveled around a lot. My dad and mom are in the Army, so, like, we traveled around and stuff, but I guess, I don't know. I'm learning about trans people since I've moved to New York City, and I'm trying to, like, because someone told me I can't say the word tranny, and I thought it was just short for transgender.
Don't lie. You're so full of fucking
No,
shit. Shut the fuck up. There's not a single fucking person on this planet who's consumed any American media within the last 50 years who thinks that tranny is just short for transgender. That is just not a person who exists. That is a blatant fucking lie. You're so full of shit. I'm sure you feel really good that you got to get on live and say tranny in front of a whole audience, but you're not fooling a single person. Not a single person who watches this video or in chat currently thinks that anything you're saying is real.
Dude, this is the problem.
Also,
like, I'm trying to have a good faith, and then
you're not trying to have a good faith conversation. You are a walking sack of lies.
The issue here, Sarah, is that, like, you don't seem to understand that it's actually a horribly offensive thing that you said, and you're then trying to have, like, a civil conversation.
And you're not
like apologizing. You're not, like, apologizing. You're not, like, showing any kind of
why it's horrible, though?
It's a slur. It's considered deeply offensive.
But why? Why is it deeply offensive? I want to know.
Sarah, why are other slurs offensive? Why is the R slur offensive?
What does R stand for?
Imagine. Come up with some naughty words you've heard of for groups of people. Why are any of those words offensive?
I mean, I know the N word is offensive, but I don't know the R word.
Why is it offensive? I didn't say, is there a word that's offensive? Why is it offensive?
The N word?
Any slur. See, no, you're so not real. You are being so intentionally obtuse. I don't need to talk to you anymore. You're not a real person. You're not a real person. Like, I'm not talking to you. You're genuinely.
I mean,
sorry. I don't mean to steamroll on your first call in. I'm so sorry that this is your introduction to this show. I'd hoped that this was a actual TERF who like. So, okay, early on in TACIS, Katie Montgomery has a lot of TERF followers, right? So we got a lot of sincere TERFs who are genuine believers in the cause, who called in to share their thoughts and to share their ideas. So I would really hope that that was who this person was, not the most obvious lying troll on the face of the fucking planet to ever be on the internet. But unfortunately, I should have let it go for longer. It would have been a better clip, but I just genuinely can't take that level of willful ignorance and stupidity.
Like, it is really just, you don't understand, like, you're an adult that has moved around the world in all kinds of different countries, ostensibly, if we're to believe you, and you don't understand the concept of an offensive slur. Are you, like what, like a 5-year-old understands, like, being called a mean name. Like, come on.
Yeah. Why is it offensive? Why is any word offensive? Certain words have just been used in contexts where historically they're associated with dehumanizing people, with making people feel unsafe. There's any number of reasons why words culturally come to be considered a slur or like deeply offensive. Because, you know, there's an argument for like idiot or moron being slurs as well. Whereas we typically hold like the R slur to like a higher standard for like it being, you know, negative or some sense, right? And similar with like the N word. I'm sure there's other racial slurs and epithets that are considered offensive, but they don't quite have the same punch as that one, right? And there are just
also,
certain
there's
words.
zero.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go for
There's
it.
a 0% chance that someone who has been online enough to identify as a TERF doesn't know what the T-slur is.
Facts. Literally 100%. And also, the most obvious put on voice I've ever heard, like clearly using a voice changer or doing something to their voice, which is like fine if you want to conceal your identity. By the way, you can be anonymous on this show. While we do ask that people call in with their real number, we don't get access to that information. The only access to information I have access to is if you've called in previously, what information you gave to us. So if you called in as Frank before, and then you call in as Steve this time, it's going to tell me you called in as Frank before, but I don't know who that number is actually associated to. You can be anonymous. You don't have to do this fake parade. Like, I'm actually interested in having a serious discussion here and not this fake, like, oh, I didn't know tranny was offensive. Oh my God. Like,
also, look at how offended we are right now. Like,
for real.
we get this all the time. Like, we are trans women on the internet. We hear it all the time, and we're desensitized to it. That doesn't mean it's not a hugely offensive slur.
Yeah.
And also, I just wanted to say it did tickle me at the beginning of like, oh, you don't have pronouns? You don't use pronouns, Sarah?
Yeah.
Ever? Okay. I'm sorry I offended Sarah by using you as a pronoun.
For real. How dare you?
I know. It's really rude of me.
Yeah. Sorry, chat, that there was just there's just nothing to be discussed there. Like, they're so obviously fraudulent and fake. I don't know how to. I am not here for the new. Jack and I were talking about this extensively in the pre-show that I cannot stand that the only thing that is valuable on this space right now is rage bait and like anger and hatred. And despite the fact that talking to Sarah for longer probably would have been a good clip, it probably would have performed well, it probably would have been good for the show, I don't get any value out of it. There's nothing good for me there. And there's nothing valuable for you other than maybe a little bit of catharsis at when we dunk at her and call her a fucking idiot. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, let's see who we got now. We have a caller who says, what could I do better when discussing respect for trans identities with Christian friends? Wants to talk about gender identity they're having a little bit of a gender identity crisis themselves. What are the expected results of more left-leaning wins in the mayoral race in the US? And how to encourage her girlfriend to be more herself privately. She's wearing makeup and things like that. So do any of those jump out at you as...
I'm just happy to be here, and I'll take any and all of them. So.
All right. Let's talk to... we'll just go in order that they came in so their time is respected until we get a sincere disagreeing caller. Genuinely, if you agree with Sarah's positions, but you're not an obvious troll and you're like, no, I just genuinely don't understand trans rights, I do want you to call in. But if you are anything like Sarah, do not call me. I will just mock you and hang up on you. Okay, John, pronouns he, him from the UK. What could I do better when discussing respect for trans identities with Christian friends? John, you are live on TACIS with Arden and Jack. What's going on?
Hi there. So I am genuinely from the UK. I hope my accent at least provides some backup for that.
Yep, you're good.
And I am a ex-Christian, and every so often I meet up with some of my former Christian friends, and I think they are trying to reconvert me. And I'm not particularly trying to deconvert them, but just have conversations, discuss topics. And last week, I saw them, and we had a bit of a chat. We were talking about whether it's always right for someone to follow their conscience, and the hypothetical situation they came up with was, should a Christian teacher be sanctioned if they don't recognise the trans identity, the name and the pronouns of one of their students? And my answer was yes, they absolutely should be sanctioned, because the trans person knows their identity, and as my understanding of the not sure of the best term, but my understanding is that the best thing for trans people is to acknowledge and support their identity, even if you're not immediately forcing them to do anything other than have them use the name, use the pronouns, wear the clothes so that they feel best matches who they think they are, because no one ultimately knows who you are better than you know yourself, is my view. And they then went to the position of going, oh no, well, biologically they are either male or female, and every cell in their body knows that, and it kind of, so they seem to then retreat from the following your conscience to saying that studies prove that their worldview is correct, which goes against what I've sort of understood of the situation, which is, as I say, that trans people are very much real and very much valid, and it's not something that you should try and suppress or be in any way anything other than respectful of. So does that make sense so far?
It does.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to give you there's not going to be a silver bullet, right? Like what's going to be convincing to every person is going to be different. And so I can't tell you this is the one thing that's going to work. Sometimes I find that when talking to people like that, you can kind of get around the whole evidentiary conversation by kind of just talking about people tend to view bodily autonomy as a pretty obvious right. And so you can kind of say regardless of whether trans people are whatever, whether they're really a man or woman or a boy or girl, whether X, Y, or Z, we can go down all those arguments about the science. Fundamentally, they have a right to express themselves in whatever way they see fit. And so long as they aren't hurting anybody else, what business do you have just disrespecting them in front of their entire peers, making their learning experience more difficult, making them more isolated from the community while they're trying to learn and be a student? I think you can try to sort of short circuit it by kind of doing some general moral appeals like that. But I don't know. There's not really a silver bullet. Jack, did you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I grew up very evangelical Christian, and so I'm somewhat familiar with some of the Christian worldviews around trans people in particular. And I would say that most often having a conversation with Christians about trans identity, it's not actually about the scientific evidence. These people aren't going out and reading the studies, because if they were, they wouldn't be making that argument. And also for them, I think the best way to reach them, if you're going to attempt it, is to kind of engage with them more on everyday grounds, right? They're coming up with a hypothetical about a student in a classroom, and it's kind of well, if in the 1950s, if girls showed up in the classroom wearing pants, that was considered too boyish, and they would be punished and sent home and forced to change. That has obviously changed now, but you can find different instances of things like that. And we know that it's better for kids to be able to express themselves as they see fit. We know that. But I would suggest that maybe this is already too abstracted from where they're actually coming from, because I find that the best way to really reach someone like this is to bring it all the way down to like, how do you determine on a day-to-day basis whether someone is a man or a woman? Like, you're walking down the street, you see someone, how are you determining that? Because it's not by looking at their cells, it's not by doing a DNA test, it's not, you're not like taking their blood before you like use pronouns. You're not like running any batch of tests or anything like that. It has nothing to do with the science because we're actually talking about a social construct. We're talking about gender, which is different from sex. And so they're trying to have a completely different discussion that is divorced from the actual reality of how sex and gender actually exist in the real world, right? And so it might help by refocusing the conversation along those lines.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I wasn't expecting a silver bullet, and I know that generally human nature is to believe and cite studies that you think support your point of view, regardless of whether that's genuine scientific consensus or whether it's you've found the one fringe study that seems to support your preconceived prejudices, and any other studies are tainted by politically correct ideology or other bias. So, yeah, I think that argument about, or not that discussion, and it is, I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to my friends and have these conversations and be able to thrash these things out. And fortunately, our relationship seems to be such that we can disagree on these things without falling out over them. I think, fortunately, it's not like I'm having to deal with transphobic family members over Christmas dinner or whatever. But yeah, I think the idea of how do you decide in day-to-day life is a very good point. I mean, recently in my work life, one of my team members, we have to deal with onboarding new staff, and we have to give them effectively an identity card, and we're supposed to check their identity documents. And for the first time in nearly 20 years of doing this, we had someone who presented documents that were not in line with the person that was standing in front of us. And it was kind of, my colleague said, well, what do I do? And it's kind of, well, it's a no-brainer. We know what identity they're using now, even if the bit of paper says Mrs. or Miss instead of Mr. Doesn't matter. We respect the identity of the person over the bit of paper, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And
yeah, I think it's really that simple. Like, you know, there's a lot of discussion about like, oh, like you can't make me think you're really a woman or whatever. And my response to that is always like, I don't care if you, an individual, really think I'm a woman or whatever. Like, what I care about is being respected and treated decently in society. And I think that is like a bare minimum expectation that should just be around. Like, if you know that somebody doesn't want to be called something and you call them that, you are kind of being a jerk for no reason other than you have some sort of ideology that you think should take precedence over respect in a social situation. So it sounds like you're doing a great job, John. And I appreciate you having these conversations with your friends, by the way, because it's difficult for trans people to do that. And when cis people are able to like have these discussions with their cis friends, I think it's not going to maybe cure everything, but it will plant some seeds that could be, that could blossom into like some changing minds and changing hearts down the road. So I really appreciate that you're having those conversations.
Thanks a lot. Right. Well, that's everything from me. So I'm sure you've got lots of other calls to get to, but thanks for the conversation, Arden and Jack.
Yeah. Thanks for calling, John. Have a good day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
That was lovely.
John was really nice. Let me send a message to our screener really quick to leave some lines open for Spice.
Like I always break it down to like, what's the neighborly thing to do? Like it's
100%.
It really just boils down to like, would a good neighbor do that? No, then don't do it.
Yep. Yeah. I am so not interested in convincing an individual that like my view of myself is correct. Because that's just like an insane situation to be in. I'm more interested in if my neighbor like has the common decency to like respect me in a conversation. Okay, so we have some other callers. Let's look at our chat results on that poll though really quickly. And we can kind of discuss where that came from. So that poll was again, with the new Epstein file or Epstein emails released, will MAGA still say that trans people are a bigger threat to children than Donald Trump? And our audience currently says with 88% yes and 12% say no. Listen, obviously this was a softball. I also agree that MAGA is not going to suddenly be like, wait, were we wrong the whole time? Obviously not. But like, it is so revealing of the moment we're in that our president has been exposed so explicitly in so many ways as being an overt fucking pedophile. And still to this day, trans people are framed as a bigger threat to children and the well-being of children than the pedophile fucking president of the United States.
It's so crazy because like I was reading through some of those last night, and it was like there was like an email from Jeffrey Epstein to like one of the former Treasury secretaries of the United States saying something along the lines of like, I've never met a worse person than Donald Trump. Like, and like that's Jeffrey Epstein saying that. Like, how bad a person do you have to be for Jeffrey Epstein to be like, yeah, no, this is the worst guy I know? Like, you know Prince Andrew, like so many like horrible people who've done horrible things, and this guy's the worst one. Like, and he's your best friend of like 10 years. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how MAGA like reconciles those two things in their head. Like, when you have like QAnon folks and the entire basis of their support for Donald Trump is like he's a secret pedophile fighter, like who's gonna take down the pedo rings, and like he's actively fighting at every single turn the release of these documents that are obviously pretty damning for him, because every single Republican right now in Congress is thinking about splitting and voting on this Epstein thing.
Yeah, what really gets me too is like a lot of people are like, oh, well, there could be a lot of really wealthy, powerful people there who he needs to protect. And I'm like, that requires selflessness. That requires being like, I know it would be good to release this, but the greater good requires that I hold these documents secret right now. Donald Trump is the most self-serving human to ever walk on the face of this planet. The notion that he would hold back releasing a list of criminal fucking pedophiles because he's trying to protect other people is such a joke. The only options are that he is in it. And well, no, I mean, that's pretty much the only option to explain this behavior that I can think of. I mean, if you weren't in it and you are a selfish person, you would say, release them. I don't care who goes to jail. I don't care whose career is ruined. If it exonerates me, release everything. That's what a person who is selfish like Donald Trump is and not guilty would do. And he's instead calling the 4 Republicans who are defecting, the 4 who had a spine, to say, pedophilia is a stretch too far for me, and begging them to change their vote. Begging. I don't know what more proof you need.
it really is kind of like if this man wasn't in these files and wasn't like terribly compromised by them, like he would release it just because he like I don't know, if you're the guy who releases the files, you're the like that's like instant goodwill with basically everyone overnight.
Yes.
And he's currently like the least popular he's ever been. And like Donald Trump is not a smart man, but like he is capable of grasping that concept as dementia addled as he currently is.
Yeah, it is pretty concerning that we are at this stage of our government. It's so disappointing. Like genuinely, we have the Guardians of Pedophile Party and um the like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory party, and those are our only two options. It is I understand the doom. I really do. And listen, I'm still very much a pragmatic person on when it comes to electoralism, but like I would be lying if the last year didn't radicalize the fuck out of me. And I was already very, very far left, so I definitely am very frustrated with the state of things right now. Anyway, we do have more callers on the line, and there is room for spicy topics if you are a serious person who does not agree with on trans rights and wants to have a discussion. We're saving lines for you. The number is 720-619-2288. But until then, we have some more calls. So let's talk to Sarah. They in California wants to talk about gender identity, and they're having a bit of a gender crisis. So cool. We've all been there. Sarah, welcome to the line with Arden and Jack. What's going on?
Hello. So I'm actually a genuine Sarah, not this troll that tried so hard. So just I have to redeem my namesake now. So that's fun. But yeah, that was a great.
Yeah, I'm sorry your name was besmirched by that person.
No, I know.
But anyway, what did you want to talk about today?
So I have, for my whole life, basically, I've always considered myself to be cisgender female, but now I'm kind of thinking more about my life, and I never really dressed like a common female would. Like, I don't really wear dresses that often. I don't wear makeup. I dress in t-shirts and jeans most of the time. But I'm also afraid that these revelations I'm making about myself are me just being part of a quote-unquote trend. And so I just want to know, like, how can I tell if this is something that's genuine versus, like, not saying that this is a trend because I don't believe it is a trend, but I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's kind of like what I'm getting at.
Do you mind if I go first?
Jump right in.
Yeah, I think that for me, the moment when I realized like I was trans and not just like playing around with gender in a gender non-conforming way, but like actually like trans, was when I realized cis men don't sit around and feel sad all the time that they are not women. And so I would say, like, beyond just like what you're wearing, like in your heart, like what do you feel in that regard? Like, do you feel like how a cis woman might feel? Do you feel like how do you relate to yourself in that way? Because that's really where the identity stuff starts, not necessarily where like what you're wearing, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, there's like a few different kind of like thought puzzles that I think I've used throughout our time on the line to try to help people understand kind of parsing all this stuff out. And like I completely second everything that Jack said. And I think also, there's not going to be like one true answer. This is really something you have to sort for yourself. But like, first of all, doubting that you are the real trans is like the most transgender thing that's ever existed. Like most every trans person goes through basically what you're kind of describing here, I think. And I'm sure non-trans people go through, some people go through that, but not like Jack was saying, most people aren't sitting around being like sad that they aren't a different gender. I think one of the thought puzzles that comes to mind is kind of the sort of magic genie, or the you know, you get offered 2 pills from a wizard, and you know, one of them will give you your ideal body, like no consequences. You get your ideal identity, body expression, poop, you know, poof, done, like instantly. And the other one means you're going to be locked into your body for the rest of your life. What happens if you take the ideal body pill? Because I knew for me, I was like, yeah, I would have long hair and no facial hair and breasts and female like fat distribution on my body, like all of that. It was a pretty easy, obvious answer for me. And I think if your answer is not like just some actualized version of who you already currently are, and some like, you know, gender fuckery happens when you take the pill, you may be trans. I don't know, do you have thoughts on that? Like what would happen for you?
That's a great question. I was not prepared for a deep question like that. No, but I do think that, like, if I'm questioning this, then like it's probably true, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
And like, well, I don't even know if it's just questioning, but it's like the preoccupation, right? It's like the fact that like, it sounds like you're really hung up on it. Like that's what gets me, is like, that's the like, oop, flag, like that's gotten flagged because you're thinking a lot about it sounds like. But Jack, it looked like you were about to jump in on there.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, it's also okay to not have like an aha moment and suddenly have like your entire gender identity figured out. Because like, I know even after I had my realization, I didn't know if I was like gender fluid or like some kind of non-binary or like a trans woman. And I had to spend a couple years kind of figuring that out. And, you know, and I think that I've also known like cis people to like have questions about their gender identity. And in a similar vein, I think like a lot of them didn't become preoccupied with it, and instead like we're just like, yeah, no, I'm cis, and then just like continued on their merry way being cisgender. But you know, just it's okay to take your own pace with it.
Yeah, I think that's like the second angle I would take at it, is like, try not to focus too much on the destination or like the label, and focus more on like, what are you feeling? Like, are you feeling like you would feel more comfortable if you like, you know, got top surgery, or if you like shaved your head, or if you started using just they them pronouns? Like, you can try those things or start moving towards those things. And if you're like, oop, that doesn't quite feel right, I'm gonna like pump the brakes and kind of like, you know, maybe try something else, that's okay. Like, despite the only thing that's really completely irreversible about gender transition is like kind of genital surgery, to be honest. Like pretty much every other thing, your hair, your expression, your body fat, like if you were on estrogen for a long time, your body fat changes, right? But if you come off of estrogen and you start taking testosterone, or your endogenous hormone system kicks back up, which is a thing that can happen, your fat distribution will go back. Like those things will change. So like, it's not a prison to start kind of looking into a certain angle. Like you can always change your mind. There's no rule saying like, nope, I'm sorry, you only get one gender change in your whole life and you picked non-binary, so you're stuck. You can do kind of feel out whatever works for you.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I've been talking to some people in the Lines Discord server, and they were all basically kind of saying the same thing that you just said, Arden, about, you know, trying out different things. And if it turns out that I am cisgender, then like I tried it, but yeah, that's kind of what they were saying, is just, take my time, figure things out, don't rush into things, basically. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And maybe one last thing, like if the genie is tripping you up, just what kind of person do you want to be? Like, just when you boil it down to brass tacks, like what kind of person do you want to be? How do you want to exist in the world and others to perceive you? And then like work from there.
yes, thank you both so much. I really appreciate the call, and I'm sorry if I was like stuttering and not making sense. I was a little nervous to talk about this, but I feel better now. And
You did great.
yeah, I'll let you guys
Yeah.
get back to your other calls. So
No worries. You're great. Have a wonderful day, Sarah, and we'll talk to you later, okay?
all right, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty. Real quick, let me hit some announcements while we're here. So first of all, if you are here and you're watching, you're enjoying the show, please consider hitting the like button. It is free and it really does help the channel. It tells people that our viewers liked it, and it tells YouTube they should start sending this out to other people. So it is a totally free way to help. You could also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/calltheline. Like I said earlier, we're doing another LineCon this Saturday. So for patrons of the $15 and up tier, you get access to like a mini convention like you would get at, if you were going to like American Atheist or something. You basically get like a mini round of talks like you would do at any of those conventions. So yeah, please consider supporting us there. And we've got some more calls. Lines are still open for spicy callers. Again, that number is 720-619-2288, or there is a web link in the description if you are outside of the US or Canada. Did that all in like one breath for some reason. I don't know why. I was like suffocating at the end.
I was wondering why you were out of breath. All right.
Weird. I do that sometimes. Sometimes I will go on a rant where I like don't take a breath, and then I get at the end and I'm like, I'm lightheaded. What's happening? Okay. Let's just take an order that people are in here, so that way they don't have to respect their time while we're waiting on spicy callers. We've got Natty, they, them in Brazil, who wants to know kind of what are the expected results of more left-leaning wins, like the mayoral race. So, Natty, you are live on TACIS with Arden and Jack. What's going on?
Hey, just before we start, since the last caller also mentioned Sarah, I was like, I got offended by the first article because back in my day, trolling took effort. Bait used to be believable.
It's true.
You would build up the relationship, you find what set the other person off, and they would punch that. But nowadays, trolling is like, I'm gonna say a slur. Like, where's the trolling? Like, it makes you a dick.
Yeah,
where's the artistry?
For real. I would like some effort, at least entertain me a little, Listen, I can control myself when there are more important things, when somebody uses a really offensive approach to comedy. But like, funny is funny. If it's offensive, it can still be funny, even if I acknowledge that it's offensive and wrong. At least make me laugh a little if you're going to be a troll. Anyway, go ahead, Natty. What was your topic?
Yeah, because from the perspective I have here in Brazil, is that Democrats aren't really the particularly good, party in the first place. Like, it's not like they're that left leaning in the first place. So my question is, aside from like Donnie, who I know is more like way more left leaning than like the majority of the Democratic Party, what are the expected results? Like, is there going to be any significant change? Is it going to be just more of the status quo? Is it going to be the same thing that we've had so far?
I mean, I think that what I am hoping and expecting is that a lot of people around the country, especially combined with kind of great onboarding events like the No Kings protests, are going to be locked in and paying attention to things like the New York City mayoral race. And they're going to see, oh, wait, they actually got a guy in who's going to get like free childcare, who's going to like fund the buses. Hey, wait a minute. If they can do that in New York City, we could do that here. You know,
Mhm.
like we could do that in the middle of nowhere in Arizona or New Mexico. And like, you know, some of these states are already passing similar things like that on a statewide level. And so my hope is that it energizes the base to not just turn out to like the polls to vote, because like that's not going to be what does it. That's not going to be what like saves the country. What's going to do it is people doing more than they have before and turning out not just every, 4 years to vote, every 2 years to vote, or even in off year elections, but like actually getting involved in their local political scene and creating kind of that downwards up pressure to change the top of the party. Because you're right, like the top of the Democratic Party is captured by corporations and a lot of like political spending. Like if you Google like Democrat Wall Street, you get Chuck Schumer. Like that's like one of the top results on Google. And like it's because they give this man a lot of money, and he understands who butters his bread, and he like will torpedo a lot of like the good ideas that are happening. But that isn't true on the local level necessarily. Like having been to a number of local organizing events, like I can tell you, like on the local level, a lot of folks are turning up just to be like, hey, our water is getting dirtier and we need to get this cleaned up. Like let's figure out what's happening in water treatment or other local concerns. And also just one last thing, I would also say that one of the rising kind of movements in the United States is the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. And they're spreading out across the United States and doing better and better with each kind of election. So that's kind of where I'm hopeful. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're completely right about the downward up pressure. I mean, you saw it when Kathy Hochul went to the like the victory speech that or party that Mamdani was hosting. They were chanting tax the rich, and she pretended to have not heard it, but let's be real, she obviously fucking heard what they were saying. And that's the kind of pressure we need. We need the people to make them fear that their seats are at risk if they don't move the direction of Mamdani. And there's already Mamdani copycats that are popping up in a number of different cities. I went to school in Rhode Island. I lived in Rhode Island for a long time. I love the state deeply. And Providence is running their own sort of Mamdani-esque candidate who's been doing a lot of the same videos and been talking about Mamdani a lot, which is clearly he's trying to like ride that same wave, right? I forget his name off the top of my head. If anyone in chat knows, let me know. But yeah, I think this is kind of how the movements work, right? And to a certain extent, I kind of understand the need for like a big tent coalition where, there's a lot of rural, conservative, working class people who are, it's going to be more difficult to get them to overcome the like Red Scare propaganda in their brains about socialism and socialist policies. But when you start making their life better, you can't fuck with that. When they're like, wow, I have more money in my pocket, my healthcare is better, I don't have to worry about school for my children, the bus is free. The propaganda can't interfere with your ability to use the bus and your life getting easier. So the hope, I think, is that it'll be effective and that it'll help people slowly start to overcome this stuff. But yeah, I mean, obviously we can't see the future, but that's kind of what my thoughts are on it. How's that all land with you, Natty?
Since you mentioned Schumer, I am blatantly copying a comment I saw on YouTube, which is Chuck Schumer once again snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, I said that earlier. Yeah. Same thing for sure. No, it's 100% true.
And is there any way for the mayors, the local election, like the local officials that have been elected, to put even more pressure, like directly on the Democrats? So, like, take people like Chuck Schumer out of the party. Is there a possibility for them to do that?
So, kind of. It depends on mayor of like which city. Like with New York City, that's like one of the most powerful political positions in the country, just because New York City is so big. When you're talking about maybe like other local mayors in like smaller cities, that power diminishes quite a bit. But the premise would be that you build up that local power before you can build up that state power, because the two are kind of going hand in hand, right? And then once you have that state level power, that can in turn affect like national elections. And kind of to Arden's point, by making things better, like actually better for like the lived experiences of people living there, not just like cutting taxes or whatever, or doing anything like that, but like actually providing services that people can see and experience. Those are a lot harder for even Republicans to roll back. A good example would be, I think it's North Dakota has like a state bank that they are able to do all kinds of cool stuff with. And like that was initially established by socialists in like the 1910s, you know, and that still exists today because it helps people out. People are all aware of it. It's not scary. And like making tangible improvements like that can maybe seem small, like, but when it's something that people feel, that is actually what builds up political power. And if you forgive just a slight rant, I've been reading up about Paul Wellstone, who was a local politician in Minnesota who was really beloved and progressive and did a lot for like green energy in the state. And part of what made him like a famous and powerful politician in the state was that he went into these rural areas and understood like their issues and advocated for them, and that loyalty that he got from them like was enduring until he passed away tragically in a plane accident. But by actually improving people's lives, you can like win over the loyalty of folks in this country, even in the reddest places, for like an entire generation. It's because like a lot of the Democratic Party has been paid off by corporations, and policy then moves in the direction of the corporations rather than the working folk that the Democrats lost.
I think a great example to reaffirm what you're saying too is Bernie Sanders. Like, I know people think because Bernie is so left and Vermont usually votes blue. I was born in Vermont. I can tell you the majority of the rural areas are very red, very conservative. People in my high school were flying Confederate flags at the back of their trucks. This is the kind of culture we're talking about. And yet Bernie has been in power in Vermont for a very, very long fucking time. So yeah, I think it's hard to deny results for people, even if they're like, you know, what you'll hear from a lot of conservative men in that area is, well, you know, I don't like the guy, but he did X, Y, and Z, and so, you know, I guess it's okay. Like, they'll try to commit to some element of like, I'm not a socialist, but you know, I might like that policy or something like that. So, but I mean, yeah, like we can't know the future, so it's hard to know exactly what the effect will be. But one thing's for sure, Mamdani has had a national impact on the party and the kind of candidates that we want to see. He's clearly breathing life into Democratic politicians in a way we just don't get. He's not the focus tested phrase generator. He's unflappable. They try to pin him on Israel, and rather than giving us some, you know, phrase that has gone through 8 layers of focus group testing, he just tells you what he actually fucking thinks, which is like, hey, Israel deserves to exist as a state with equal rights, but like, I don't believe in ethno states, point blank, period. And like, I'm against genocide, and I think that's wrong. Like, you can't mess with that, you know. There's no like, people can have they put out their propaganda or whatever, but in most cases, like I saw a great one today where people were like sending this message to Mamdani, and it was like these AI blimps going through the city of New York that said like, Jews will not be made afraid or something like that, or they shouldn't be made afraid or something along those lines. And they were like, he would agree with this. What do you mean? Like, he would say thank you, I guess. Yeah. And so
I would give one additional example to the North Dakota one, which is directly relates to Mamdani, which is that in rural America, municipally owned grocery stores have been a thing for a long time out of necessity, because like the major grocery chains have failed a lot of rural Americans. And if your local grocery store goes under in rural anywhere in the country, then you are suddenly stuck in the unenviable position of having to drive like 3 hours, 2 hours, even an hour to go to your local grocery store for food. And Erie, Kansas has a municipally owned grocery store. And like these policies that are being called like too socialist for New York City, they work even in rural America. And I think that like these policies matter. And I think a lot of folks in rural America get captured by, the Fox News bubble, and they get scared of buzzwords. But when you de-abstract things into how is this going to actually improve your life, a lot of people in this country are desperate for that. They want to be able to make it. And I think that's kind of where our hope is, that everybody is struggling right now, and that combined struggle, if we channel that energy into politics, is going to break whatever corporate power is currently destroying so many institutions here.
How does that all land with you, Natty?
No. Everything makes sense. Yeah. Again, I was my question really does boil down to, can we predict the future? No, we can't. But
Yeah.
No, absolutely, that makes sense. Yeah. Isn't just to finish up then, because you talk about how there are a ton of socialist policies that are in place that people don't want to get rid of. Like, isn't that the reason why conservatives try to paint Medicare as like Obamacare, to like because they're like, I don't want that, I want to get rid of it, because they don't realize they're both the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's also like, I think, a more complex thing in there, which is like the why conservatives consistently vote against their own well-being, vote against things that are going to benefit them as people. And that is a different complex topic that we might have to call it another time for. But like, yeah, 100%. The right is far superior to Democrats on the sort of moralistic propaganda that they use that convinces people to vote against their best interests. There's a great book on it by, I think it's George Lakoff. I'm forgetting I don't think of a purple elephant or something like that. Really, really great book on kind of the sort of moral psychology behind propaganda and sort of how these things work. And it's really, honestly, a lot of the book is talking about like why Democrats suck at this and what they could do better. It's a pretty old book too. He was a consultant, I think, even on some campaigns after the book came out. But yeah, it is a good read on sort of pulling apart that notion.
No, yeah, that was my question, really. Thanks so much for as usual. It's like my fourth time calling. Y'all are always so nice, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for calling, Natty. You have a good day.
You too.
Bye. Alrighty.
They were really wonderful.
Yeah, no, I like Natty. They've called quite a few times. Well, we have a live one. Are you ready?
Ooh, I am. Let's go. Let's rumble.
So we're going to talk to Pamela, also no pronouns given, from Australia, who said, why did you try to convince Sarah she was trans? So
what?
This is going to be a really interesting call. So Pamela, come on. There we go. Pamela,
Hello?
You are live on the line with Arden and Jack. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so I watched your call with Sarah, and the vibe I got is that you were directing her towards adopting a trans identity, and all she told you was that she didn't like dresses, that she preferred to wear jeans.
What did we say to Sarah? Can you tell me what we told her that could be construed as?
Yeah, you said she wouldn't be thinking about this stuff so much if she wasn't trans.
Is that what we said, or did we say you probably wouldn't be thinking about this stuff if you weren't trans? And also, we added a caveat in there before we said any of that, which was that we can't tell you that you're trans That is something you have to decide for yourself. But here's our thoughts on those thoughts.
Yeah,
So
I
would
would
you
just
agree
also
that you
ask,
told her she was probably trans?
no,
No.
I would ask you, like, who do you think thinks about being trans more? Cis people or trans people?
It sounds like you're implying she's probably trans.
No, I'm saying statistically, who do you think spends more time thinking about being trans? Is it trans
It sounds
people?
like you're saying she has a high statistical likelihood of being trans. Like when you say that stuff,
Does that
you are putting
equate
the
to
idea in
saying-
her head that she is trans.
Does that equate to saying that she is trans, or does it say most trans people spend more time thinking about being trans than cis people do?
I think it equates to saying you have a high probability of being trans, which is very similar to saying you are trans.
If I say smoking makes you more likely to develop lung cancer, am I saying that you have lung cancer?
You are saying you will probably have lung cancer later on. And yeah, like
No.
people do straight up say.
Wow, you're really
smoking
struggling
gives
with
you lung
understanding how
cancer.
words work, Pamela. That must make it really hard for you.
You're also struggling with
What'd you say?
statistics.
I said you're struggling with how
what
words
did you
work.
say? I missed you. What did you say?
I said you're struggling with how words work. It sounds like it's got to be really hard for you.
No, I understand how words work.
Debatable. Because we're saying probability, likelihood, and you're saying that's the same as saying that you are trans, which is very obviously not.
Yeah, what was
Do you
the
think
final
if
piece of
somebody
advice
is
that we
told they're
gave Sarah?
probably trans, they might come away from that thinking they're trans?
We didn't say
What
that they're
was-
probably trans.
Yeah, what was the
It
advice that we
sounds like
gave
you
Sarah?
did.
What was the advice that we gave Sarah?
That she should think about how trans she is.
Wow.
That we should think
That's
that she should
such
think
a
about what kind
dishonest
of,
lie. You're so full of shit. That's really funny.
we said she should
That's-
think about
well,
what kind
that's
of
what
person
Do
she
you
wants
think
to
that?
be.
Okay, let me give you a question. Do you think that your conversation with Sarah increased the likelihood that she'll think of herself as trans?
No,
Sounds like she
I
was
think
already thinking that. I don't think that we increased the likelihood at all. We just gave her some tools to work through those thoughts with.
Yeah. And by the way,
She
those are
wasn't already thinking
can
it. She
use
said she
your
thought of
mind.
herself as a woman her whole life until she
You're
came across.
wrong. You're wrong. The literal
Ew.
note she gave to our call screener, Pamela, was that she was having a gender crisis.
Because of your content and similar content.
Where did
Wait,
that
and I
come
think
from? Who said that? She didn't say that. You just came up with that. You pulled that. Did you have to use one or two hands to pull that out of your ass? I would love to know.
She
Also,
said
Pamela-
she thought of herself as a woman her whole life before.
Pamela,
Did
you
she
can
not
use
say
the
that?
same tools we gave Sarah. Does that make you trans? Did
Sorry,
we
say that
trans
again?
you by... You can use the same tools that we described to Sarah. Does that make you trans?
Okay, which
Did
tool?
we just trans you with our content? Did we trans you by telling like Sarah to like consider her identity? Did that trans you?
No,
Probably
because
did. That's
I
probably what's
know
going on.
trans ideology is bullshit, but someone who doesn't might be convinced
Wow.
by that.
Great argument.
Wait.
Killer.
So And I think,
So-
Sarah, if you're listening, I think you should look into second wave feminism. It fought for the rights of women.
Pamela,
to
did Sarah
wear
call you?
whatever they
Pamela,
wanted and not have to wear dresses and stuff.
Pamela, did Sarah call you? Did Sarah ask
No,
for your
but
advice?
she might still be listening, and I think she should know about
That's
the
not
second
an answer to
wave
my
feminist
question. Did
movement.
she call you?
I mentioned
Did
it
she
to your
call
call
you?
screener, and it got
Did she
really...
call you? So I'm muting you because you're talking over me, and that's not how this show works. I don't know if you know this, but this is my show. You called in to me. I didn't call you. Did she call you? Did Sarah call you and ask her advice?
No, I'm just explaining...
Cool. So I don't know why you are trying to take control of the mic to be like, I have a lesson for Sarah. Sarah didn't call you. Sarah didn't ask for your advice.
Fair enough,
And
but I think
literally in
everyone
chat
should be
right
aware
now
of the
saying
second wave
you didn't
feminist
ask for your
movement.
opinion.
Lots of people are aware of the second wave feminist movement. I was aware of the
Apparently
second
not
wave feminist
Sarah,
movement
because
before
she
I came
thinks
out as
not
trans.
wearing
And I read
dresses means
lots
she's not a
of
woman.
feminist literature before I came out as trans. And guess what? I'm still fucking trans.
Yeah, same.
I think
actually.
Well, I think Sarah should look at that because I don't think she has.
I don't care what you think Sarah should look at.
Yeah. Why do you get the right to dictate Sarah's life? What are
I'm
you?
not. I am just saying.
You're telling
here's
her
some
what she
information.
do.
Sarah, Pamela, this is not an open mic where we call to give you the mic so you can say whatever you want. I don't care what you think Sarah should do. Sarah didn't call you. If you have an argument if you have an exact quote that shows that we were saying Sarah is trans and she should transition, I would love to hear it, but I know you don't have that fucking quote because that's not what I said or what Jack said.
You didn't say those exact words.
Right, exactly. So you are making stuff up to be mad. Do you have real problems in your life? Like, you're in Australia, so probably not. You probably have like socialized healthcare and shit, so you don't actually have real problems. But over here in the States, true, big spiders. We have really cool snakes over there. Some of my favorites actually. But like, do you have real problems that like this is your problem? This is the kind of life that you have, that these are the problems you have, where you just sit around and you go, they told someone on the internet that they could possibly be trans. I have to call in and say how offended I am at that prospect. Like, genuinely, how easy is your life that is the kind of problems you have?
Why is Sarah's life your business? What the hell? What's wrong with you?
Because I don't want the progress of second wave feminism to be erased by you.
The progress of second wave feminism fell on its face already. We're not doing anything to help that.
That's why there are subsequent
Maybe not
waves
you
of
individually,
feminism.
but your movement has put that stuff in her head.
I don't care what you think my movement has put in anyone's head. And I doubt you could even articulate what my movement, what my values, and what my beliefs are. You've already inserted and extrapolated. No, quiet. You've already inserted and extrapolated on so much fucking shit that I've actually said and made up the things that you want me to have said because it's easier for you to combat, that I don't care what you think my movement is. There's no possible way you have any actual idea of what my movement and my beliefs are. You've already shown you don't listen. You don't care about what I actually say. You care about what you wanted me to have said. But Jack has something to say. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, Pamela, it kind of sounds like you came in with a lot of preconceived notions here about like what we said because you have a lot of strong feelings and a lot of strong positions. So did you want to argue any of those positions or ideas, or are you just coming in to try and micromanage someone else's life who called into the show?
Okay, my idea is that women don't have to wear dresses to be women.
I agree.
True. I'm not wearing a dress right now.
Neither am I. I've got jeans and a shirt on. Who said that you have to wear dresses to be women? Again, you're making up shit that no one said to be mad about. Get some real fucking problems.
Okay, but Sarah said she didn't wear dresses, and
who cares?
We're also not wearing dresses.
So why did you treat Sarah's claim that she didn't want to wear dresses like it meant anything?
Well, do you remember what I said to Sarah about her clothing?
Okay, what did you say?
I said that the clothing didn't matter. So I'm even more baffled. I said recenter the conversation on who you want to be, who you are on the inside. That's where the conversation matters about her personal identity. And like, you have now come here and just like imagined an entire argument that we were telling Sarah that because she doesn't wear dresses, she's trans. And that's just, again, a complete fabrication of, and I don't know how you got that other than you came in with a lot of preconceived ideas about what was being said and why that aren't related to what was actually said.
So when Sarah said, I don't wear dresses,
actually, I'm going to derail the conversation for a second because I just got a note from our call screener, Pamela. Pamela, have you called in previously as Marco?
No, I have never called in under another name.
Are you sure? Did you say that Matt's a butthole?
I have always used the name Pamela. I've called in before, but I've always used the name Pamela.
Did you say that Matt's a butthole, which is exactly what Marco said when he called in?
I have never said that. I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh, so our screener just made that up? See, the problem is, Pamela, you've already come in making up shit that we didn't say. And so I already know that you're dishonest. And so I don't believe anything you're saying. You also don't really sound that Australian
what
to
did I
me.
say that was false?
I just, oh my God. Just get some real problems, please. Be an adult.
What did I say? What? You think bad stuff should happen to me because I don't agree with your ideology?
Whoa!
No, just go pet your
Again.
cat some more.
What the
Like,
fuck?
I don't
What
know.
does get some real
Again, no,
problems mean to you?
stop talking. I don't care to hear what you have to say. You just said, we wish bad stuff would happen to you because you disagree with us. Please tell me when.
Problem.
Stop talking
What
until
does
I
that
ask
mean?
you a question. Please tell me when we ever said anything even remotely fucking close to that. I don't care if good
You
or
said
bad
get
things
some
happen
real
to you.
problems.
I don't know you.
Yeah, because you're making
What does
Sarah's
get some
problems
real
your
problems
problems.
mean?
Get some
Like,
real
have
problems means that if us telling a person on the internet, hey, that sounds like similar experiences to the experiences trans people have. You could be trans. You should explore that feeling. If that makes you so upset that you want to call into a show to tell us we said something we didn't say about it, it means you don't have real problems, because people with real problems have to deal with healthcare and finances and housing and where they're going to get their next meal, things that actually impact
You
the
think I
real
should have to
world.
deal with
Stop
that stuff,
talking
that
while
all
I'm
that
talking.
problem should
I
happen?
didn't ask you a question. We don't need you to input while I'm in the middle of saying something, especially not somebody like you who has nothing of value to offer this conversation other than making up shit we didn't say to be upset about. You are not a real person who has real problems that is worth taking seriously. You just make up shit and then pretend that we're mad at you about it.
Right.
You just got unmuted. So I see you were talking back there for like half that time. So clearly you really struggle with how these conversations go.
Also, Pamela, it sounds like you have a cute cat. Like, you could spend your time petting that cat instead. Like, you don't have to, like, worry about Sarah's problems. Sarah will take care of those problems themselves. Like, that's how the world works. And if you're really concerned about strangers, you could, I don't know, direct that towards other people in your community, maybe like volunteer at your local homeless shelter or food bank or whatnot. But like, this seems like you had something you wanted to be mad at and you decided to just do the rage thing.
I think I have a good reason to be mad that you're undermining the gains of second wave feminism.
But the point you made when I gave you the floor to talk about it, and you said we're advocating for women to only wear dresses, and that, like, at no point did we ever do that. So you're not even mad at people who you're saying are, like, you're not, the target is wrong here. You can find people online who are against second wave feminism and think that women should only wear dresses, but then you're like, I don't know, pick a fight with the trad wife community or something. Like, I don't know.
I argue
But
with
it's not us.
conservatives too.
Yeah,
Congrats.
but like,
You want a cookie?
No, I
but
don't
we're
want a
not
cookie. I'm
saying
just
the
telling you
things
I do
you're
that.
saying we are.
You are one of the, look, there's multiple kinds of misogynists out there. You're one of them, so I want to tell you that.
Tell me what I've done
In
or
what
said that's
way?
misogynist.
Well, this woman called in, said, I don't wear dresses, and you didn't immediately say, women don't have to wear dresses. That has nothing to do with whether you're a woman.
So we did in fact say that what you wear doesn't matter, but the fact to you that we didn't say it immediately means we're misogynist. You're insane.
Well, it means you're
Again, you have no real
reinforcing her
problems.
belief that
You're
because she
a
doesn't
crazy
wear
person on
dresses,
the internet.
she's not a woman.
And I don't care anything about what you have to say. Like, genuinely, go pet your cat, please, and maybe roll around in the grass. You need help.
What are you doing right now? You spend much
I'm
more
running a
time on
show.
this issue than I
You
do.
called me. I didn't call you.
But you set up this phone line and you spend hours on it talking
Yes,
to people
to
about
talk to
these
people who
things.
have
Why
real
aren't you
ideas,
petting
not
your
people who
cat?
make up shit that I didn't say to be mad at me about. I don't have to
Why
take
aren't you
everyone
petting your
seriously,
cat?
not if they're like you.
Why aren't you petting your cat right now? Why are you spending all this
Is
time
that
on the
why
show?
you're mad at us? Like, what is this conversation, Pamela?
You're the
Again,
one who made it personal, so I'm...
What?
If you don't want it to be personal, don't talk about me as a person.
I don't care. Yes,
You don't
I'm
want
not
it to
petting
be
my cat
personal.
right
We
now.
can
I have
go
a
talk about
full-time
the
job
ideas,
and I
but you
have
made it
like real
personal.
problems, so I have to actually work. So my cat doesn't get attention all day, every day. Although we do cuddle all morning and all night while I'm drinking my coffee or popping a gummy and watching a TV show. Like, I don't know what your problem is. I can go get my cat right now. She's almost guaranteed sitting outside because she loves to see me when I come out of my office. I don't
Okay,
know
I'm
what your
also
problem is.
petting my cat.
Anyway,
I am
now that
also
this
petting my
conversation
cat.
has
What's your
completely
point?
derailed from anything of substance and you're trying to attack me for also not petting my cat, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna let you go. Genuinely, I hope you get some help. You have some serious issues and Jesus Christ, don't call back. Okay, Pamela's gone.
Did I make that too personal by talking about the cat that was meowing in the background? Because I was suggesting it as a pleasant activity that seemed preferable immensely to just being angry at strangers on the internet for things they didn't say.
Yeah,
But I guess that was too personal for Pamela.
I guess Pamela has absolutely called before, and I think I may have gotten wrong that she was Marco, although she has an identical voice to this caller Marco, who used to call us, harass our call screeners, and say like Matt's a butthead and shit like that. So I was like, oh my god, it's got to be the same person, but it wasn't. Just they have identical voices and also no real problems, I guess. Anyway, I'm gonna get Daphne before we do super chats to just show that my cat is around and fine and happy and gets plenty of attention. Unlike this lady's cat, who apparently is neglected while she screams on the internet at people for saying things they didn't say.
When you get back, I'll step away.
Okay.
For a moment.
Here. Oh, do you need to? If you need to step away, I can go get her right now.
Okay, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay, cool. Hold on.
Cool. Also, everyone loves cats.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
But I could get her.
No, if she's on top,
Snake.
if she's up top and she's like getting heat, then I don't want to bug her. Let her nap.
I looked for her when you asked because she was sitting out here when I got back home, but then she walked downstairs.
Yeah, she was there when I walked out earlier. Oh well. All right. I'll just vamp if you need to step away for a minute.
All right, BRB.
Okay. Oh my god, chat. That was wild. I mean, like, I just can't understand why, like, somebody would get mad at the advice we gave to another caller that was specifically about, like, hey, the destination isn't important. You being happy is what's important. You living your best life is what's important, whether that's whatever clothes you wear or whether that's whatever label you pick or whatever transition steps you think are necessary for you. Like, we gave the most, like, rounded advice that was not specific at all. And by the way, I always do that, or at least I do my best to always not say you should specifically do X, because I don't know you guys. All I'm getting is a 2-3 minute call. If someone's calling me saying they're having a gender crisis and asking for advice, I'm going to be like, okay, sure. Assuming that that's true, let's engage with this conversation. Just so insane. Yeah, she's absolutely just a TERF who's like bored of tweaking out on Twitter, I guess, and decided to tweak out in my call. All right, so we do have a few spots open. So if there's anyone else who wants to call in, the line is still open. That's 720-619-2288. And again, keep your eye out for the LineCon event this Saturday. Exclusive to our patrons. We've got an episode of Calling It Now after this with Luxander and Jimmy. The chat is going to get automatically sent there as soon as the show's done, so stick around. And let's talk about some of the shows that are coming up this week. This Sunday is going to be Justin from the Deconstruction Zone and Seth on the early show. It'll be Forrest Valkai and Austin Archer on the late show. Forrest and Erica will be on Skeptalk. I don't think it's going to be like an 8-hour show again, but they will be on Skeptalk on Monday. Alyssa and Taylor on Chewed Gum on Tuesday. And then Matt will be back with Will Judy for the Hang Up on Wednesday. And then it'll be Lux and Josie right here back on TACIS next Thursday. And yeah, so that's what's going on the week. Go hit the bell on those posts and stuff so you don't miss your notifications. All right. How are you feeling? You ready to go? That's so crazy.
I'm good to go.
I was like, I know this one's going to be fun because that person their topic was just so funny.
I just I get so excited to have like a real conversation, and then it's not even it's like as far from real as you can get, because they're just making up things.
Yeah, I think I've been trying to have an active memory to help tell the audience, like, if it seems like I'm popping off early, that's because I've done this a long time and I can sniff out bullshit from a mile away. And the second you start accusing me of saying things I didn't say, like her first words on the call, or their first words, I don't know Pamela's pronouns. I have no reason to take you seriously or like actually evaluate anything that you're saying. And we tried too, after the first round of me being like, that's stupid and bullshit. We kind of cooled it down and we were like, okay, like, what did we do that's misogynist? You didn't immediately tell her that wearing dresses is not necessary or something like that. Like, just so dumb. Like, genuinely, like a second grader could understand why that's stupid. And again, this is why I say I think she doesn't have real problems. Like, the only people who sit around on the internet and get mad about stuff like that are people who have nothing real to care about in their life, or very privileged, or like, fortunate in some way. Or somebody who is deeply disturbed and like mentally traumatized. In either case, they need help. Anywho, we have some callers on the lines. Okay, here we go. This one's not really a spicy call, but they're kind of a disagreeer. Eric, pronouns are he, him, in Arizona, said he's part of the 4% that were polled last week about healthcare for trans folks. Doesn't agree with Democrats, but is also not in the Republican stance. So, we're getting I guess I'm hearing that there might be a delay when speaking, but Eric, you are live with Arden and Jack. Hopefully the delay isn't too bad, because it might impede our ability to have a conversation, but we're going to give it a shot. So you're live. What's going on, Eric?
Not much, and if the delay is too bad, I totally get if you can't do the call for your show.
Yeah, worst comes to worst, I think if you pitch us your question or your topic here, we will answer it offline without you on the phone, and then you can like listen back and call in next week or something.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was calling in response to what you mentioned last week, the 4% that I don't agree with the Republicans, but I definitely don't agree with the Democrats on it. And, I think I have an opinion that probably most Americans share. And you guys, I'm sure, won't. But, I do think it is where common ground could be found, whether people are willing to meet there or not.
Okay. Give it to us. What's going on?
Oh.
Oh.
Sorry, I feel like you're saying something.
Nope. Go for it. Tell us what your position is.
Okay. Well, the first one would be absolutely no surgery, no hormones, no medication for anyone under 18.
What is the limit of that? Specifically trans stuff, or are there other surgeries and medications for minors that you're also opposed to?
Well, this is where we're going to probably parse definitions of what you consider medically necessary and what other people like myself consider to be cosmetic. But yes, I would say, just to skirt the argument of nose jobs and boob jobs, no cosmetic surgery whatsoever for any minor, only medically necessitated ones.
So I guess we have to kind of come to an understanding about what exactly is cosmetic and where medical necessity comes in. Like, if somebody is going to not be alive due to changes that their endogenous puberty, their natural puberty is going to put them through, and without some sort of medical intervention would consider killing themselves, that to you is just cosmetic and not medically necessary?
No, what that is to me, and I am sympathetic to it, but what that is to me is emotional blackmail. To just say, if I don't get my way, I'm going to unalive myself, and it will be salt because they didn't do what I wanted.
So it's not saying because you didn't do what I wanted.
I don't.
It's saying they have a specific situation going on, right? Where we have a whole body of evidence. Every major medical organization in the U.S. agrees about the necessity of gender-affirming care.
No, they don't. They don't all agree on that.
They absolutely do. The major associations in the U.S. definitely do agree on the efficacy of gender-affirming care anyway. That's just true. I mean, you can say that like Sweden doesn't or whatever, but I said the major medical organizations within the U.S.
And are they lying?
This is. I don't think that they're, unbiased. I mean, there's a lot of money that goes into medical study. There's a lot of influence, and you're qualifying it with, well, there are major medical organizations. There's
like the Endocrine Society, the American Medical Association,
whatsoever.
the American Heart Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Association, or is it the Pediatric Psychological Association? Pretty much everyone that you trust for pretty much every other like major health condition that Americans face, who issue the same opinions and guidance on those surgeries. You take their word for all of those, but just not on the gender stuff.
Well, first of all, you don't know if I take their word for all of those. Like I said, that they are corrupt institutions, not overall, but there is corruption because money is involved in it. And so,
can I ask,
no, I don't take their word about everything. And also, if I would...
Ask again.
Sorry, what did you say?
Can I ask, who is corrupting them, in your view?
Well, whoever, groups are financing these studies, and it's not like exclusive to progressive causes, it's the Heritage Foundation can do this for things they want to come out right wing. It's, I don't want to get into, sourcing everything I say. We really can if you want, but, well, could you repeat the question? I got a little off track.
Well, I guess I'm
What
just
was the
curious.
last question you asked?
I'm just curious about like who's financing the corruption of these major.
Yeah. Well, like I said, special interest groups that finance studies they want done.
Do you have
for
specifics?
results
I don't really care about vague. I don't care about vague
generalities.
I would prefer you give specifics if you're going to make a claim like that.
Yeah, like which ones? Like not an abstract. Like what groups are you talking about specifically?
Well, then I can't name one because I didn't think we were going to go down the weeds about this specifically.
But have you found one before? Have you ever encountered a group like this, or are you just going off of vibes here? Because it sounds like vibes so far.
No, I've seen plenty, and I typically see them for more right-wing causes. But I'm saying that it's something that affects
you're asking
all of it.
About
if
what
you've seen
organizations are corrupting the major medical institutions in favor of trans people.
I told you I can't
and if you
name
said
one.
you've seen plenty,
I
it should
told you
be
I can't name
easy to
one
come
right
up
now.
with one.
Yeah, I just want one.
I'm
or
not
like
just going to
two.
take your word for it, bro. Like, if you're saying there's plenty of them that are influencing things, you should have some example.
No, I didn't say plenty about trans. I said plenty about just
the organizations influencing
like studies.
Research. Yes, I understood. You said plenty of organizations are corrupting the research. And I'm saying if it's plenty, that means several at least. Give me one example.
Okay, well, I we're getting down the weeds of the first thing that really isn't too related. But if you just want an example,
you made a specific
on the
claim.
Right, the Heritage
We're just
Foundation
trying to make sure that you're not talking out of your ass because no, I'm gonna hold on, Eric.
No.
Here's the problem. You can call it getting in the weeds if you want. I'm trying to suss out if you are a person I should take seriously. Because if you're just a guy with opinions based on vibes, I'm going to be honest, I don't give a fuck about your opinion. You're not a doctor as far as I know. You haven't presented any evidence. You're just saying there's corruption and there's like organizations corrupting it, man. That's all I've gotten so far. And I'm willing to hear you out and trust that there may be something like this going on. But I need some kind of specifics, not just your vague generalities.
And the issue here, Eric, is that you're naming one organization. I need to get this thought out. You're naming the Heritage Foundation, which is doing stuff that is completely unrelated to like what is happening with the major medical institutions of the United States. And so when you are making claims that all of these organizations are secretly biased by corporate money, I
did not say all.
No.
You're misrepresenting what I said.
Please let me finish this thought, Eric. Because the majority of medical institutions in the United States support trans people. And part of the issue that we're going to run into here is that you want to like dispute the medical necessity of these interventions, right? And part of the problem is that's predicated on your argument that all of these institutions, or most of them, or a handful of them, are corrupted by some nebulous pro-trans lobby that wants to trans the kids. And I want to know, who are you talking about? What is your evidence for this? Because it affects the argument that you want to make down the road about whether or not these things are medically necessary. Because your argument's going to be that they're not, because these institutions have all been corrupted by money somehow. And I just who's making up the big trans lobby here that you are thinking is biasing the research and findings of these organizations in favor of the medical necessity of trans people?
Can I respond?
Yep.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so first of all, you have paraphrased what I said to take it into a different meaning, jump conclusion based on how you've framed it, and now you're asking me to respond to things I didn't actually say. I never said all. I never said there's some shady group. And also, I did answer your question when I said I don't have a specific one to give you right now. And
if you don't have a specific one, then I want to throw out this argument entirely.
Can I finish?
No, because if you're saying you don't have an example of evidence of the statement that you're making, then I have no interest in this argument, because that is therefore become just your opinion. And I'm sorry, but unless you are the head of one of these major medical organizations and you are citing some sort of evidence, I don't care about just your opinion. We're talking about medical necessity for entire populations of people, and the consequences of that are massive. Even if it's a small percent, that small percent of 300 million is a lot of fucking people, and their well-being also matters. So I'm sorry, but I don't care about your vibes about the corruption of academia. I'm sure there are some examples of corruption in academia we could point to, but you don't have anything. Yeah. You came here saying that there's something, and you don't have any examples?
Because this is like a tenth of what I called about. I didn't think we were going to go down
Well, I'm sorry you stepped in the shit right at the beginning. That's not my fault. That's yours.
Well, because honestly, can I respond to what you're saying?
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay. I don't see how you saying, I'm using nebulous terms when you come back and say, almost every major has said almost all this, almost always. I mean, do you know how many medical organizations are there that you can make this calculation that most of them have said
you want the specifics? Buckle up,
buddy.
Name
them all?
Yeah, buckle up. Buckle up, Eric. No, okay, I'm going to mute you because you asked me to name them and then you kept talking. So buckle up. The American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, the American Academy of Dermatology, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Physicians Assistants, the American Medical Association, the American Nurses Association, the American Association of Clinical Endocrinology, the American Association of Geriatric Psychiatry, the American College of Health Association, the American College of Nurses and Midwives, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the American College of Physicians, the American Counseling Association, the American Heart Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the American Psychological Association, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, the American Society of Reproductive Medicine, the American Urological Association, the Endocrine Society, Federation of Pediatric Organizations, the GLMA Health Professionals Advancing LGBTQ Equality, the Journal of the American Medical Association, the National Association of Nurse Practitioners in Women's Health, the National Association of Social Workers, Ohio's Children's Hospital, the Pediatric Endocrine Society, Pediatrics, Journal of American Academy of Pediatrics and Seattle Children's Hospital, Texas Medical Association, Texas Pediatric Society, the United States Professional Association for Transgender Health, the World Health Organization, the World Medical Organization, the World Professional, the WPATH again. So there you go, specifics. See how easy that was? I said it, and I can back it up.
Yeah, am I still muted?
Nope.
Yeah, so thank you, ChatGPT, for the list. And if
Not
you think
ChatGPT,
20 or so
that's called
medical
knowing how to Google and knowing how to back up what I fucking say. Nice try, though.
So
nice
you
cope.
think 20 or so?
Really good cope at trying to deflect from how much I obviously just
You're
blew your
talking to
ass
yourself
out
at
of the
this
fucking
point.
water.
You hear like you hear the beginning of what I say, jump to a conclusion, and then argue with what you assume I was
I don't
going
have to jump
keep
to a
on
conclusion.
saying.
You say
your
something,
argument.
I call you out and ask you for specifics, and you say, I can't do it. Then you say, well, you're using generalities too. You can't cite specifics. And then I cite specifics. I'm calling you out on specific stuff.
Okay. So you think the 20 that you named is the entirety of medical organizations in the U.S.?
They compose most of the medical recommendations for most of our American medical procedures. Yes.
Okay, so let's parse that. So the university or the hospital of Seattle and a couple random ones from Texas. So we're going to include all 50
listen, I prepared
states
for this. I knew
potentially,
you were going to
but
fucking do this.
You have just
you're so dishonest. I'm muting you again. I knew you were going to do this. I knew that I was going to list things like the American Medical Association, one of the largest medical associations within the entirety of the US, and you were going to focus on the Seattle one. I fucking knew it when I was going through that list, and I almost didn't list them specifically just to deprive you of that. But the difference between us, Eric, is that I'm actually fucking honest. And when I say medical associations support what trans health is doing, you want to focus in on some bullshit like this. Again, these are major medical associations, most of them, that inform most of the medical guidelines that are enforced within the US.
No, the fact of the matter is,
yes,
you read a list
you
that
can say
confirms
no,
your
but
bias,
you're just
and
wrong.
then you're saying that it's almost all of the medical organizations in America, and it's not even. It's
sure the
it's
organizations
that
see, I don't have to treat you with respect or dignity or fairness in this conversation because you're so full of shit. Bias. These are the same. Listen, my partner had a triple bypass surgery about 3 years ago. You know who informed the guidelines? Who informed the evidence where those surgeons knew how to take the vein out of his leg and graft it into his heart so he wouldn't fucking die? The American Heart Association, the same one that endorsed this organization. And by the way, this is not an appeal to these organizations. These organizations are making statements in defense of healthcare based on the evidence. If you have evidence of their corruption, I would love to hear it.
Well, tell me the evidence, please.
No, I don't have to give you every evidence. You are coming here saying you have a claim that you can support, but you can't.
Actually, I can. You asked what I think about underage trans people hurting themselves. Okay, you don't. I don't. Yeah, I'm totally willing to continue this call, but it seems like you don't want to hear anything I have to say. You're like I say, you interrupt everything and then you jump to a conclusion based on something I wasn't even going to say.
Incorrect things 3 words into your fucking sentence. I'm not just going to let you spout out your feelings about gender affirming care and the corruption of the medical association without correcting you.
Oh.
Cope, laugh all you want. Everyone in the chat sees what a fool you are.
The entirety of the American medical consensus.
Most of it.
What is the biasing factor here? I want to know what organization is biasing the American Medical Association. Who's paying them off, Eric? I just want to know. You say they can't be trusted. Why?
I've answered this question like half a dozen times. I've already told you I don't have an example to give you. I didn't think that this was going to be.
Like,
I
who
didn't understand what
specifically
you're
is
saying.
paying
You're both
off
talking
the
at the same time, I
American
think.
Medical
What?
Association? Who is paying off the American Medical Association, Eric? You're
Could
the
you
one
say-
saying that that's the case.
I don't know how many times I have to tell you the same thing. I don't have an example offhand to give you that.
Cool. Call back when you do.
You guys can
Call back when you do.
Sure.
I don't care
there's
about your vibes,
Money doesn't
Eric.
corrupt anything in these institutions.
I don't care about your vibes, Eric. Call back when you have some specifics and something to actually back up the bullshit you say. I'd be happy to talk to you again if you bring some specifics. I don't care about your vibes and your opinions.
No, you wouldn't. Because you
cope with it all you want.
I didn't say any
see,
of
when
my
you ask
vibes
for
and
facts,
my opinions. And actually,
I bring facts.
The question...
When I ask
cool
for facts from you,
I'm
you
not the
bring
one-
your vibes. Ha ha ha! Cope more. It's embarrassing. Chad's laughing at you.
Okay, yeah. You two are the angry ones.
Yes, give me more.
No.
Yep, angry. Yes,
you
I'm
are the
very
ones
angry.
getting angry about this.
I'm so
You have
angry.
a wonderful
I'm furious.
imagination.
Yeah, you're
I
both
wish
talking
you
over
could
each
do
other and yelling your voices.
Wow.
Excuse what? You guys keep talking at the same time. I can't hear what you're saying.
The delay
Okay.
is killing this conversation.
Bye, Eric. He just got fucking clowned on so hard and was coping. Honestly, I wish I bullied him a little bit more at the end there because I was starting to have some fun, but it's so funny that he's like, oh yeah, really? Medical associations? Prove it. I give him a long list. I didn't want to go through the whole list, but I knew I could, so I did it. And then he's like, well, you do the same thing. You don't have evidence. Bro, I can back up the shit I say. If you give me time, I know what I'm doing. I can find anything that I say. I will always back up my claims.
Mm-hmm.
You had nothing. You had corruption is happening. There's some, I've seen several organizations corrupting medicine. Prove it.
You know, I can imagine corruption happening, so it must be. Like, no, you gotta find evidence for your claims. It's not, like, I'm not asking for a whole lot here, but when your argument is predicated on the idea that you can't trust these organizations because they're fully corrupted by money, then I want to know where the money is coming from. Who's doing it? And like, bro couldn't name one. He said he couldn't name one, and he continued not being able to name one and kept trying to be like, well, the Heritage Foundation corrupts organizations. Like, yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. Like,
and if anything, every corruption that they've done is to attack trans people, to attack trans medicine. They hate trans people. Their Project 2025 wants to associate being trans with pornography and to ban pornography and make it criminal. Like, they're not doing anything to help me. I would love to know these lobbies that are making the trans healthcare so good for us when trans people are losing rights. Democrats are caving on trans rights, giving away our access to spaces and sports and things like this. I would love to know why these organizations that allegedly are corrupting things in favor of trans people suck such monumental donkey dick that even our biggest defenders are turning on us. Sounds like we have the worst lobbyists on the face of the planet.
No, but they're able to trans all of the kids everywhere, especially in Seattle. So really, if you think about it, they are the most powerful lobby. And it's just like, but who are they? Because I've been on the internet long enough to know that when guys like Eric talk about they, it usually connects to something pretty bigoted in some direction. And
George Soros or some fucking nonsense, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on, take our next caller. The lines are packed right now. We're probably not going to have room for every caller. So I'm super sorry to anyone we don't get to. If you've been waiting, you don't want to wait anymore, or you're like, I don't feel like waiting that long, you can drop. But we're going to try to talk to some of you. We're going to talk to Panda first. She, her in Texas. Wants to know how to encourage her girlfriend to be more of herself privately. And I think that's a super adorable and sweet call to totally reverse the vibes. So let's bring in Panda. Panda, you are live with Arden and Jack. What's going on?
Holy shit. Sorry. Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm really nervous. I'm sorry.
Totally fine. What's going on?
Oh, well, first and foremost, I appreciate you taking my call. And I am also a cisgendered woman that is not wearing a dress. So that's fun. But right down to business, I have been in a extremely amazing relationship for the last 8 years with probably the most amazing person I've ever met in my life. And she is closeted for the most part. And like obviously I know about it. I've known about her since the moment we met. It wasn't like a deal breaker or anything. And my mom's really like accepting of her and stuff like that. But Arden, I know you kind of know how it feels to be in Texas with so ever since the orange one came into office, I feel like she has pretty much retreated a little bit and not wanted to live as authentically as she wanted to in the beginning. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna start crying here in a second, because I hate how she feels like she can't be herself because of ultimately the possible dangers or the financial aspect of even transitioning. And she always kind of beats herself up about, oh, I'm getting older and like it's only a matter of time before I can't quote unquote pass. And it's like, I feel so bad for her and I don't know how to help her with that. And I don't know how to explain to her that, you don't have to, wear makeup just to feel like a girl. So I don't wear makeup all the time, but I want her to be able to be comfortable around the house, because that's primarily where she can be herself. And I'm all for that, but I also don't want her to associate her being closeted and only being comfortable wearing girl clothes at the house to being a quote-unquote cross-dresser either, because I don't want her to feel like, oh, it's just some fetish I have. It's like, no, if that's who you are, that's who you are. You shouldn't be afraid to be you, know, especially around me. I mean, 8 years is a long-ass time.
Yeah. I definitely very much relate to the fear of operating in public has gone up a lot with Trump in power, like no question, especially living in Texas. Like we have been overtly hostile to trans folks, and especially as we're entering like the age of the surveillance state, like Austin, like Colorado, just like put a bunch of those fucking AI cameras all over our city, despite how many people objected. It's like disgusting. Like it's truly horrifying. That's how you get to like, the CCP Uyghur genocide situation. But that all of that aside, I will say, despite that, Austin is remarkably safe for queer people. I don't know I guess you don't have to share where you are. I don't want you to like dox yourself, but like, Dallas and Austin are phenomenal for queer rights and queer safety, out in public, even as like early in your transition, like so many queer oriented spaces are going to be very, very accommodating. And I think a lot of queer people now too are getting very hip to what's going on. And when they see somebody, when they're like, I can't easily just assume that person's gender, I should probably ask them. They'll probably will make a mistake first, but like in my experience, people are way, way better at this stuff now than they've ever been. But like, yeah, I totally get. First of all, I just want to say I have so much empathy for her. I did all of that for the first years of my transition, the same, like wore makeup all the time and tried to wear makeup that specifically like framed my face in like like a fake natural way. I was tucking 100% of the time. And I don't know, at a certain point, like I mean, I'm very fortunate to be able to work from home, but like, let me tell you, I only ever put on makeup or do my hair so I can be on camera. Like when I'm most days of the week, I look like a ratty, nasty ass bitch unless I'm about to go out the door. So like, and even
No.
sometimes when I go out the door,
No, ma'am, don't do that.
it's yeah, I think I don't know. That's just a part of girlhood too, though. Also, like feeling the pressures of misogyny
Absolutely.
in society to like perform gender a certain way. So like, I don't know if I have like advice per se, but definitely just like a lot of empathy for where she's at and the emotion she's going through right now, looking at everything happening. So, Jack, did you have thoughts on any of that too?
Yeah, like I grew up not in Texas, but in kind of on the edge of like city life in and rural life in Minnesota. And so like when I started realizing that I was trans, like one of the hardest things was figuring out where to go out in public. And I started small with like gas stations. Like I would drive to the gas station and like have a minor interaction with like a stranger who was there and just like like during checkout.
Right.
And like that felt like the hardest thing in the universe. But eventually it got easier. And then I worked my way up to the gas station and Chipotle. So then I could also get a tasty bowl. But like I worked my way up because it's difficult. It's really, really hard because you're used to kind of performing, as like a trans girl. Like I was used to performing masculinity and like figuring out like what even the minor interactions of like performing femininity, like that was really difficult for me. But I would say, especially, it kind of sounds like your partner is really down and sad and scared because it's a scary time right now for a lot of trans people. And like, it might be that what could help would be like more of a sense of agency, like places to go outside of the home while presenting as their authentic self. Like if Sorry, Panda, what was that?
I think that, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I was just thinking back because I think the 8 years that we've been together, I think she has presented female in public a total of 3 times with me, and each time was fun. The last time, bless her heart, she wears glasses, as I see you two do as well. Well, when she doesn't wear her glasses, she's blind as shit. So what she did to make herself feel better is she took off her glasses so she didn't feel like she could see people staring at her. It's like, no, don't do that. But I understand her insecurities though at the same time because I'm a plus size woman, so I automatically get stares. So then like I understand like not being comfortable with people looking at you but not knowing what they're thinking. And I try to tell her as much as possible how beautiful she is, with or without makeup. It doesn't matter to me. Like, she's beautiful to me. She's the most beautiful person I've ever seen. And most of it is because I see her heart. And that's what I don't understand. I don't understand why people are so freaking focused on people's genitals. Like, I'm sorry. Why does it matter what someone else has inside their clothes? If you're not there to mess with it for your own, each other's, like, consensual pleasure, leave it alone. None of your business. That's all
Exactly.
I'm saying. I don't
100%.
understand it.
This is why I know I've rang this bell a couple times on even this show, but I've been doing it a lot lately where I'm just like, people are always going like, oh, well, you can't force me to think you're a woman. And I'm like, I don't care to. Like, the people who matter to me already do think I'm a woman and they treat me like a woman and they respect my identity, right? Like, I don't need to have everyone in my life. If you are incapable of respecting me as a human being, please, by all means, stay 100 yards away at all times. Like, I'm not asking you to be around me.
I guess I would just
Anything
say
negative, yeah, cut you out.
I would just say carve out some places, maybe like sit down and brainstorm with her that she might feel safe going and presenting her authentic self and kind of practicing. And it can be like a place where it's a bunch of like fellow queer folks, or it could be like a place where the social interaction is extremely minimal and like relatively safe. You know, like plan around that safety and like what she's comfortable with, because like it might be that getting out of the house and being herself in public and socializing, that's where she's going to get a lot of that additional like reinforcement and like, you know, confidence, I guess.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Unfortunately, though, I will have to say that it's kind of a double-edged sword because we are hermits, the max. And 2020 kind of validated that super hardcore for me. I think I've been to one store outside of a gas station and a grocery store like 3 times in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But
I feel that.
I
like as I work from home, but like I did the same thing as Jack, I think, where I was like, I've often given this advice specifically around like voice training, where I would drive around and listen to the radio and find a woman's voice who was kind of similar to mine. And then I would try to like emulate her. And once I was like, okay, I think I got that down, I would like, let me hit a drive through and like test this voice out. Because the worst that happens is I flop, she misgenders me, and then I'm like, never gonna see her again. Don't need to worry about that. And so I think those things are really good ways to like test this, where you're like very low stakes.
See, like, so I don't know if you know much about the general area. I'm not going to disclose exactly where I'm at, but I live in Central Texas, so it's kind of like church here, Starbucks here, church here.
Yep.
Starbucks, church. It's aggravating because then it's like if it's not the Christians that are yelling at you and wanting to throw their pitchforks at you, it's just people just being mean for no damn reason. It pisses me off because it's like I personally feel that trans people as a whole is like almost the minority of minorities. And as a human being in general, we should all treat each other respectfully and just be mindful of, I don't know, like just use the Bible to against them, be like, you know, do unto those, you know, just be nice to each other. Shit, you know, like, I don't know.
For real.
Talking just gibberish now because I'm all nervous.
No, I'm right there with you, Panda. Also, if you're near Central Texas, I would highly recommend trying out like the Austin Pride or any of the like Austin queer like bars or scene. There's a really cool one I just found a few months ago called I'm blanking. It's like a D&D themed tavern. Like you have to like knock on it and some guy in like a knight armor will be like, what's the password? And whatever you say, you get in. But like it's part of the game. And like everyone there is queer. Super, super safe. And you can kind of dress however you want to like help maybe mask some of what's going on there. So I don't know. There's if you're in Central Texas, there's definitely lots of opportunities in like the Austin area where you can engage with like the community and people in a way where you're almost guaranteed to like, I can't promise you'll feel safe because we're doing exposure therapy here, right? But
right.
like,
right, yeah.
Right. But like you will be safe. You know, short of the natural craziness, you can't escape anywhere in the United States. But most of these locations are very, very safe and fine. Yeah.
And it could be like a hard experience, even if it is a very safe one, because I know early on going out was just terrifying. You know, even if it was one of those kind of like throwaway social interactions, like it could be like one of those things where you only have like one of those in you like a week or a month even. But like slowly working from there and building up, that can do a lot and make you, the feeling of like as a trans person, like being in public and like thinking all of the eyes are on you and like you are in potential danger, like that is something that I still feel a little bit, but like it is vastly diminished from where it initially was for me. And maybe that could help your partner too.
Either way, like, I'm so sorry that anybody has to live their life like that. Like, I don't think anybody should live their life day to day worrying about their safety just for fucking existing. It's bullshit.
Yep.
It totally is.
100%. Well, we got to take
Sorry.
one more caller before we wrap up
Ran.
calls here, Panda. No worries at all. I appreciate you calling in, and best of luck. If you have any like experiences, you like go out and try things you want to share, I definitely invite you to call back. Okay.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate all y'all's time. And she's actually the one who introduced me to y'all, so I love her for that as well.
We'll tell her we say hi. Have a good day, Panda. Bye.
I certainly will.
Bye, Panda.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
All righty. We've only got time for one more call, and we have 5 callers on the line. It's so crazy. For how this show doesn't get as many views as some of the other shows, we always have packed lines. So let's talk to, I think here, this call will be good. Luke in Kentucky wants to talk about puberty suppression and how that relates to gender affirming care for minors. So Luke.
Let's do it.
Yeah, Luke, you are live on the line with Arden and Jack. And real quick before you get started, I just want to say to all the people waiting in the queue, I know you can hear me. We're not going to be able to get to the rest of you today. I'm so sorry, but I do thank you for calling in. And please do call back in the future on future episodes. But go ahead, Luke, and let's get into it.
Well, yes, I just would like to caution everybody from targeting trans people in any way in public. That is absolutely asinine. I don't want to be antagonistic in any way towards these groups of people. I've been reading about this for a couple of years. I've got a large family and very, very many nieces and nephews. So I've been reading about this for years. And one thing I've never really heard discussed is it's always been my understanding that puberty is essentially the body's way to mature the mind and the genitalia and the physical body. And if you don't allow somebody to go through puberty, they will be undeveloped. Not only will their genitalia be undeveloped, but their mind will also be undeveloped. I've never really heard that talked about much.
Yeah. So my familiarity of this with regard to the research anyway, is that our understanding of how puberty suppression can affect cognitive development is already kind of considered in our care guidelines. So typically, no patient is allowed to be on just puberty blockers for a period of longer than 2 years. After that 2 years, you either have to start introducing cross-sex hormones, or you have to cease use completely and resume your endogenous puberty. And that the primary negative impacts of cognitive development or bone density, for example, all really start to become statistically significant after that 2-year mark. Doesn't mean that there aren't risks before, but I mean, that's just medicine in general. There are always risks with medicine, and doctors are always trying to do a weight of, cost benefit analysis.
Okay, interesting. I've got to ask you about this since I've been reading about this for a while. I'm sure you know about the whole WPATH thing, and Dr. Marcy Bowers coming out and saying that to date she's unaware of any individuals claiming to be able to have orgasms if they're put on puberty suppressants at 10 or 2. I mean, does that not seem like we're setting these people up for failure if that's the case?
I've heard Marcy Bowers say something along those lines. I have talked to many trans people who have had bottom surgery, who were on puberty blockers, who have not had problems. Like, it's very, very normal after genital surgery for the first year or even 2 years sometimes, because nerve regrowth takes a long time often, to lack sensitivity. And so it's really difficult And for some people, sure, in very rare cases, zero functionality does happen. But I have not heard that no person who started puberty blockers at Tanner stage 2 has the capacity to orgasm. That's the first time I've ever heard that claim.
That's from the Supreme Court versus U.S. Department of Ed v. Louisiana. It's Dr. Marcy Bowers. She's the head of WPATH. And it came out in some documents that they had a doctor working with them that published some internal documents and like board postings. And that it was presented to the Supreme Court. That's where that comes from. It's case number 24A78, U.S. Department of Ed v. Louisiana. And, it just seems like the science needs a lot of maturing. Because I was reading some studies about this, and I was looking at just how this would affect youth. And the studies I were reading were measuring genitalia size in single-digit centimeters for these individuals. And that just seems kind of crazy to me. Like, that seems like you're leaving them with nothing to work with.
Definitely atrophy can happen if in certain cases. Atrophy can happen in general when you're taking certain medications like this, but I will look into that case. I haven't seen that, so I can't comment specifically on that case. I know I've heard Marcy Bowers say a lot of stuff that I think is I haven't seen substantiated. I've heard her again, like as from just like sorry, let me reverse here. I haven't looked into this case, so I don't know what evidence is presented. I've heard Marcy Bowers say similar things, but I've only heard her say them. I have not seen like any statistical evidence of that. But for sure, like when we're doing medicine, right, we are always factoring in the negatives. Every single medicine has side effects and consequences in medicine. And the whole point of medicine is to say certain outcomes, like you being alive, you having a good quality of life, are worth risking certain negative consequences to receive medication. And that's across the board. Every single medical intervention faces the same problem. As far as do we need more evidence? I'm always in favor of more research, more evidence, better science, better informed guidelines and policies and things like that. I don't think that the evidence for access to gender affirming care for minors is as weak as people want to make it out to be. But like, sure, like in general, I'm down for getting more better evidence. But to me, the whole purpose of, and this isn't to me, this is just what the purpose of medicine is to make the best informed decision with the evidence that's available, even if we're acknowledging that the evidence is imperfect, the evidence is incomplete. There are things we may or may not know. And as of right now, it seems to be the case that affirming somebody's gender, giving them access to, patient-led care, meaning like if the patient says, I don't want to start puberty blockers this early because it might lead to better results on genital surgery down the line, then I think that's something that should be considered. But for sure, I have heard that sensitivity is definitely different or even more difficult if they had been on puberty blockers from Tanner stage 2. And so I think I've even heard some doctors who are prescribing like testosterone gel in very small doses for young teens who are like on puberty suppression. That way they can maintain functionality of their genitals so that surgery results will be better.
And I would also throw out there, if you don't mind me interjecting, Luke.
I just want to say I love what you're saying, because I've talked to a lot of people about this, and it seems like people just have automatic pushback whenever you talk about this in any sort of like critical way. And all I'm trying to advocate for is advancement of the science, to mature the science, grow the science, dial in the science, make the science better. Science doesn't need to stagnate. Science grows and develops and matures, and we learn new things, and it progresses, and we learn how to treat things in a better way. And that's all I'm trying to advocate for. Because I don't know if you read about some of the way that they do specifically male to female. Like I told you, some of these studies measured genitalia in centimeters instead of inches. They use what's called peritoneal tissue because they don't have hardly any tissue to work with. And peritoneal tissue is basically your gut lining, and it doesn't have nerve.
Well, to be fair,
So
Luke, if I can interject, peritoneal tissue is used in several different methods of gender-affirming surgery, even not regarding situations where there's limited tissue available. There are even some methods that primarily use peritoneal tissue, so that's not particularly remarkable as far as I can tell. But I don't disagree. Evidence should advance and should inform better guidelines. But that doesn't mean that in the meantime we neglect to treat children with the options that we have available.
And I just want to add that we also don't necessarily have great understanding of like the science behind orgasms, right? Like that's not,
yeah, that's true.
We don't like that's still like an understudied part of like biosciences. And so one thing I will point out is that there was a study done in 2023 about the effect of puberty suppression on sexual functioning in transgender women after gender-affirming surgery. It was published in Sexual Medicine. And in that study, they took a group of trans women who had experienced early and late puberty suppression via hormone blockers and stuff, and like looked at whether or not they were able to achieve orgasm after bottom surgery. And there appeared to be no correlation, at least with this group, between early and late puberty suppression and ability to achieve orgasm. And one of the trans women who was studied was not able to experience orgasm before surgery, but was able to after. So like it's a complicated field of study, and like the trade-offs aren't fully understood, but that's kind of true of a lot of different medical interventions.
I'm also seeing Marcy Bowers here has released a statement basically saying that she feels slightly misrepresented by some of those quotes, because I think the quote in that case was actually taken from a different location, where Marcy Bowers has specifically said that she felt slightly misrepresented, and that it's definitely a more nuanced conversation, and there's a lot of unknowns, but that doesn't mean that like people aren't getting sexual function, that like the evidence for an understanding of sexual function is like maybe limited on specifically people who receive puberty blockers in those instances. She went on to say, consider a consultation with a gender surgeon prior to blockers. Not all puberty blocked individuals will have sufficient growth going into puberty blockers, though puberty may be deemed beneficial for some. And if you can possibly stand a bit of puberty, the extragenital skin growth, likely orgasm and potential fertility may be attractive enough to consider the option. So, I mean, and these are things that, by the way, like I got offered puberty blockers when I was 14. And one of the first things that they did was offer like fertility preservation and things like that. And so we were having conversations about this. So like, well, I appreciate your concern, and I agree we should be looking into these things, understanding them more so we can have more developed guidelines. These are things that are already kind of known and considered and informed to the patients and their parents when they are considering taking these sort of medications.
I guess I'm just sort of going off, the rally cry that I always think of is, always affirm somebody's gender. And it's just, it's just so complex, and it's so nuanced. And I don't think a political rally cry should be informing medical decisions. And I think that's a bit toxic, and that we can do away with that, and we can talk about things in a more nuanced way. Yeah, particularly, like I said, the peritoneal tissue, my understanding is it doesn't have any nerve in it, right? So if you had somebody that was female to male and had, let's say, a couple centimeters to work with, they would be like 90% peritoneal tissue, which only has pressure sensitive. It doesn't have like typical touch sensation. It's just sensitive to pressure, kind of like your internal bowels. So you're talking about 90% of somebody's genitalia that's made up of tissue that barely can.
So I don't know that that's necessary. I'm not going to just take your word for it. I haven't heard that. I don't know that's necessarily true that there's no nerve ending. And there also are other benefits to peritoneal tissue, like, for example, that it is often self-lubricating. So that is also appealing to a lot of trans folks when they're considering what kind of genital surgery they want. But I just want to point out that you said you don't think the political rally cry of like always affirm someone's gender should be informing medical interventions. And I just want to point out that it isn't. Like I just pointed out, Marcy Bowers is even saying that if the patient feels like they can stand a bit of puberty, that they should consider doing so because there may be positive benefits to doing so. And I would say that the political rallying cries that are informing policy and medical interventions right now are strictly anti-trans conservative ones, right? The medical field has always been on patient-led without a destination in mind. When they're saying a young person assigned male comes to them saying, hey, I have gender dysphoria, I think I'm a girl, I want to transition, they're not giving that kid medicine saying, we're going to make you a girl. They're going to say, right now you're telling us you want to transition and like have a feminized puberty, so we're going to start moving you in that direction. They don't have a destination in mind. However, the far right anti-trans policies that are coming out in red states all over, including Texas, are restricting patients' ability to access any care, which I think that's the actual example of political rallying cry informing medical interventions that is actually happening. Nobody is saying like, always affirm, always give them all the care. They're going through stages of evaluation and they're getting, talking to different doctors throughout a lot of this. Whereas in these red states where care is being restricted, it's just not even an option. That sounds like a far greater evidence of political intervention affecting care than the affirming trans people approach.
I also just want to throw
agree.
out there, because you've mentioned peritoneal tissue for bottom surgery. I would also mention that one of the cool things about bottom surgery is that those nerves generally grow in. So like, whereas where the tissue might originate from doesn't have any sense of touch, when it is then used for bottom surgery, the understanding is that it can take like anywhere from a year to 2 or 3 years, but sensation nerves grow into that tissue as part of like the healing process.
Well, I know one study I read was tissue for construction of a neovagina canal in gender-affirming vaginoplasty. And the doctor talks about how that they only use peritoneal tissue in cases where there isn't other tissue access. Like they're basically saying that a lot of cases, a lot of clinics, that's like a secondary surgery that they only do in the worst cases. If you have any other option other than peritoneal tissue, that's what you want to use, because of it's not that that the nerve tissue cannot grow into this. That like it doesn't support the growth of neurons in the way other tissue would, because it's not typical tissue. It's your internal tissue. It's your gut tissue. So it doesn't have.
Yeah, but it regrows over time.
And what you're describing, Luke, is doctors saying, like, what you're describing is doctors informing patients and being aware of the medical risks of saying, like, and by the way, I had a consult with a doctor here in Texas who performs the peritoneal pull-through method because I thought that I wanted that. We had a great conversation where he was like, if you want, I can absolutely do that. There are benefits to it. However, he said, not because he's worried about lack of sensation. He said every single patient he's ever had has sensation and has had the ability to orgasm. But what he said is he prefers to leave that because there are certain side effects that can happen where there are like certain ruptures or tears. And in those instances, it's always, once you take the peritoneal tissue, it's really hard to get more. And so he said he prefers to leave it there. That way, if there's any revisions that need to happen, there's tissue there that is fresh and healthy and available to harvest for those kinds of situations. So again, I'm not really, it doesn't sound like you're really being like anti-genital surgery or anti-gender affirming surgery. It just sounds like you're saying like, oh, you're noticing that there's questions in the medical field about certain elements of practice, which again is just how medicine works. Like there's lots of, hell, do you know how many people are on GLP-1s, dude? We don't have very much information at all on those. We're having new information where we're like, oh wow, it does this, and it does this, and it does this. That's really cool. But there's a lot of stuff we still don't know because that's just how medicine works. We find something has a clinical benefit and we say like, hey, as of right now, the evidence is suggesting that this is really beneficial for these causes. So let's start using it. And once we start to understand better, we can evolve our guidelines to make the care even better and to reduce risks of side effects even better.
Yes, and this is the type of conversation that I believe has to happen in order to get care back in the, I think, what is it, like 25 states now that don't allow gender affirming care for minors. We kind of have to talk about like the bad facts or whatever you want to call it of the medicine, and talk about we're maturing it and talk about how we're growing it if we want to get it back in those states, because they're like a political football almost for both sides, and I'm just kind of the guy in the middle saying, let's talk about some of the bad things here so we can admit some of this and move forward and mature the science, help these people, not limit their access to care, but just understand the risk and benefits better as a society. Because I think that's kind of where we're at now, is that half of America thinks that the risks are really great to the point where they've made it illegal in those states. And and I, like I said, I just caution anybody against any kind of pecker checking bathroom policies. I think that's absolutely absurd.
I agree.
Where we're gonna have pecker checkers at every bathroom. That's not enforceable in any way, and it's not. It shouldn't be done. And I'm afraid that with Trump in office, people are getting emboldened to say things that they wouldn't normally say and act ways that they wouldn't normally act. And I just want to caution everybody against that, because I'm kind of your right leaning Christian, but you have to accept these people as human with flaws, and just know that you being a dick is not helpful.
100%. Absolutely. Yep. Being a dick is not going to make them realize, oh my God, you're so right, I should detransition. We do got to move on, Luke. I didn't realize how late actually in the show it was, so I really got to go, but I do appreciate this conversation, and I definitely invite you to call back if you have any more questions, okay?
It has been a pleasure. Thank y'all.
Thanks. Later.
Bye, Luke.
I also just want to say real quick before we wrap up that these conversations are being had by doctors and by medical organizations, by medical professionals. That's how we get to medical guidelines. That's how we get to consensus, where medical organizations feel comfortable making a statement about this is our position as an organization on an entire branch of medicine. These conversations are being had intercommunity. We have talked extensively here about how a lot of trans folks want to get voice surgery, and that there's a lot of risks and a lot of, I generally advise against voice surgery. If you really need it, definitely get it. Have a conversation with your doctor, find a good surgeon. However, there's a lot of risks where it often can make your situation worse, and I wouldn't want that for people. However, genital surgery, even for minors who had access to puberty blockers, well, they're not minors when they get surgery, they're 18 by that point, but for people who had puberty blockers as minors and then get genital surgery as adults, these conversations are already being had. But also, I just want to point out that somebody who was like, I have questions about medicine, Luke was able to do it like a fucking adult, and actually brought some real information. Was like, hey, what about this? I've seen this. I don't understand this. Do you have information? What about this thing? Whereas the other dude, whatever this fucking his name was, I don't even remember because irrelevant, but was like, there's corruption and there's like lots of organizations, and that's all he fucking had. So I just want to point out for all the people who are like, you can't be respectful. I absolutely can be respectful if you are respectable.
And Luke was great. He was open to new information, and like I appreciate that quite a bit. And I would also just add, like, those conversations are definitely happening between doctors and like trans people and patients. They're not necessarily happening on Fox News. They're not happening in the media bubble that a lot of conservatives exist in. And that is what then gives rise to the ability to fearmonger, like, oh no, the kids are being trans. Like it is a deliberate propaganda tactic from the right.
For sure.
Sadly.
So we're going to move on to take our supers. We have a ton, so we actually can't linger on them too long. I usually try to end calls at like 4:15. I did just look down and saw it was 4:30 and was like, oh, fuck. We got to roll. I was having a good conversation with Luke, and I lost sense of time because I like talking to people who are honest and can take in information. But yes, the option for the punishments is in the chat. Your options are in this poll are women must wear dresses because I like to clown on stupid collars. Congress must wear exposed fishnets, or Santa's real but trans is not. So those are your options. We'll have to spend 2 minutes defending whichever one of those wins once we get to the end. But we're gonna move on and take some supers. If you want to, like, we can alternate reading them because people will often write stuff for you. And then hashtags are how you get a vote. So this one's from Poetical Irony, 30 shekels. The unofficial pre-TACIS off the line online poetry jam number 7 gave me a sneak peek into a call, but still no poetry in a voice chat. Hashtag Team Arden for guest debate. Well, thank you so much. Oops, let me get the scoreboard up on screen. There we go.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Oh, shoot, I hit the wrong button. I'm so sorry. Oopsie, oopsie, oopsie. Here we go. All right. Oh my God, we have so many super chats. Holy shit. Okay. Do you want to read this one?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you can see them.
Yeah, I can see them on screen here. Thank you for the 10 Australian dollars from Cliff. Cliff, I'm going to assume is the pronunciation. V2H. Love both channels. The line is great and huge riverboat shimp ever since Ms. Gender Lynn introduced you. Hyped about this crossover. And since I'm looking forward to Jack defending the sillies, Team Arden, betrayal, treachery.
Okay, our chat loves to do that where they will gas someone up and then vote for the other person. They think it's so funny. But also, this is really good. I thought we had good chemistry on calls. We had good synergy, so that was really good. I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
$5 from Melatonin Ale. Have some monad for obvious, or for having to deal with obvious trolls, and such a lazy one at that. Hashtag Team Arden. Thank you, Ale.
£5 from the Fuzzy Logic. I was ready to give Sarah the benefit of the doubt, but then Arden reminded me they identified themselves as a TERF. More red flags than a Soviet parade. True.
Facts. I think she also said in the notes, she called us like the guys or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, like, it's funny because guys isn't even something I really care about. Like, everyone says that for everyone, but like,
yeah.
Then you made yourself a clown out of it. Anyway, $5 from Joshua Everett, Emperor Palpatine to Professor Moriarty. Worst guy I know, Trump, hands down. Yeah.
Thank you for the 15. I don't know what that symbol is. From Poetical Irony. Woo! Let's go, Sarah. Supporting you in the call. Team Sarah. Oh man, some of these super chats are going to get a little confusing because of the two Sarahs. I'm going to guess it's it's the good Sarah, not the evil Sarah.
Definitely the good one. Sarah, the good Sarah's been in chat. And those are shekels. Poetical Irony.
Oh, shekels. Thank you.
Another 30 shekels from Poetical Irony. Maybe not a magic genie pill, but I have a blocker shot tomorrow. I get them once a month and have been using them to count down bottom surgery. 19 days left. Oh my God, that's so exciting. Assuming insurance plays nice. Hashtag Team Arden. Congrats. That's so exciting. I don't know. I hope maybe this year will be the year it works out for me. We'll see. Or this coming year.
Thank you for the $10 from Atlas53580. This show helped me figure out my gender, then things in my life made more sense. I remember Arden saying to someone, if you are thinking / questioning it this much, you probably are. Happy out, non-binary now. Oh, congratulations, Atlas.
Sarah, notice that said probably. Probably. That means you might not be, but it could be. Yeah, that's how statistics work. $5 from Legally Mod. Next week I learned, or sorry, Pamela. I said Sarah. Pamela. Whatever. You guys know who I'm talking about. $5 from Legally Mod. This week I learned that the quote not approved for women label on generic 10% minoxidil solution applies to trans women too. Hashtag Team Arden.
Oh dang.
Yeah, I think minoxidil can increase hair growth in general, and so that's part of the problem. If you're using it to like help with balding, it could end up like making your facial hair or arm or leg hair grow as well. I may be wrong on that. Correct me, chat, please.
Thank you for the 10 New Zealand dollars from Mountain Eucalyptus. Hello, friends. Thanks for your good work. I learned this week that in New Zealand, you can get on HRT within 2 weeks of figuring out you're allowed to. Hashtag Team Arden. Congratulations, Mountain Eucalyptus.
Hell yeah. Informed consent is the best.
It really is.
$9.99 from Brutus Magnuson. Jack, we love to see you. Happy to see her here.
For the $5, thank you, Bramley CX. I don't think cis people know about the egg prime directive. Team Arden. I don't know exactly what that is, but I think I can infer.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what we did, right? We're like, we won't tell you you're trans, but
yeah.
I guess it's different because the prime directive, they're like, you can't contact, right, until they contact you or whatever. Anyway. $10 from Moira Bannister. Jesus, Pamela. I'm pretty sure Pamela has called before, even if it wasn't the person who I thought it was. I just remember a call that was exactly like that from someone in Australia.
Thank you for the 15 shekels from Poetical Irony. I turned trans because of this content. Time works weird, so it happened backwards, but I'll digress. Hashtag Team Arden.
Gender medicine does have the ability to traverse time. Also, sorry. Brain short circuit. ADHD, $5 from Marceline GG. Thanks to hashtag Team Arden for being sympathetic to Pamela's word difficulty. One more hour of content before she gets trans, since apparently that's a thing. You guys,
yeah, look,
I've trained you to be mean in the worst way possible. I'm so sorry. Sympathetic to her word difficulty is really funny.
I'm just like Pamela really took her life into her hands there. Like she might have come out trans if she had watched much more. Thank you for the $20 from Aliyah Shana Silverbow. Sarah's call was genuinely helpful for me, and I'm incredibly grateful that she called in with her topic. Scamala can F off. Scamala.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. And yes. I appreciated that call a lot.
Yeah, Sarah 2 is great. I love Sarah 2. Sarah 1, really. The true Sarah. $5 from Bramley CX. Arden, you offered Pamela a cookie? You're clearly threatening her with diabetes. How dare you? Hashtag Team Arden. Yeah, that does seem to be basically how her logic works.
Thank you for the $5 from Sarah Talks Pod. Pamela, they did not turn me trans. Hashtag Team Arden.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Coming to our defense. Here we go. 20 Australian dollars from Primordial Puggles. Aussie condolences dollars for the Pamela call. Thank you. We appreciate it.
$5 from Never Had a Bidet. Matt is an a-hole. That's why we love him. He deals with a-holes every day. He deserves to be an a-hole himself. I'm not getting over that username for a while.
That coming from Never Had a Bidet is especially rich. Thank you. $5 from NetherCat42. Pamela, there is a greater chance that you're a closet misogynist than either of our hosts. Most like you are, or most likely you are, or something like that. Yeah. No, it's funny how the people who are like, oh, you're saying that people who don't wear dresses need to be boys. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. You're the one who's suggesting that like transgressing gender in the way that we do it is unacceptable and that you have to just stick with your biology. Like, you're the one forcing people to conform to gender norms, not me.
Thank you for the $5 from Alina Langton. Federal employees like myself are being denied trans coverage on health insurance in 2026. Not sure what I can do. Ugh, I'm sorry to hear that, Lena.
Yeah, that's really hard, especially with how private insurance is going. I I got my packet from my health insurance that was like, your stuff is going up, but we can't tell you what it is yet. And I'm like, that's ominous.
Right. Can I just add one thing in there? Look
Yeah.
around and see if there are any like community like LGBTQ clinics. Because I know that here in Minneapolis, when I first started, I went to one of those for my care rather than a clinic, and they had a sliding scale payment model that would accommodate just kind of however you were doing financially. So look at kind of community-based solutions, because there might be more out there than you're expecting.
I think even the one I go to here in Texas does that. I'm always nervous to say what they are because I don't Texas. I don't want them to like catch flack or something, but they're great. The best gender care I've ever gotten. 5 pounds from Barbara Barrett, J8F, defender of second wave feminism. How are you getting calls from the 60s? For real, it's the, oh my God, who was like the famous white feminist who wrote that piece that was like about how you shouldn't be a homemaker, but they were also like very anti-black woman.
Oh, yeah.
I'm forgetting the name. Chat will know. We read that when I was in college.
Wait, what was before that one? Was there one from the bidet?
Oh yeah,
chatter?
yeah. We skipped over it. You're so right.
$5 from Never Had a Bidet. Thank you. Did you know that you can super chat the word a-hole, but not the word b-hole?
Content guidelines are so dumb. Jesus Christ. The internet. $5 from Nixie Baby. Just got to put in my vote for hashtag Team Arden. Thank you. Alrighty. There we go.
Thank you for the $5 from Rien Zayatic. I'm going to go with that. So grateful for this show and both of you. Love from Minnesota, Team Jack. Got to get my fellow Minnesotans on board. Let's go.
Lie. I visited Minneapolis this year and I loved it and was kind of like, if I escape Texas, I either want to go to Illinois or Minneapolis, probably. I really love Minneapolis. I don't want to deal with winters again. I do love not having winter, but it might be worth it.
I like it. I'm a little biased though.
Oh, hey, it's Mama Meffy. $5 from Mama Meffy. Hey, hashtag Team Jack and hashtag Team Guest Host. Arden, you got to get the spicy folks to call next time I'm on. I'd have loved to talk to Pam because I've got issues. Yeah. I don't know if you know Meffy. She's a activist here in Texas who she kind of went viral a few times on TikTok for testifying at legislative hearings and
hell yeah,
reading them to filth. It was great. All right, come on, super system. Load me the next one. Here we go.
Thank you for the $5 from Marceline GG. Just fulfilled my trans agenda work for the week. Identified 3 assigned female at births. Not wearing dresses to get trans. All hail the monad. Team Riverboat Jack. Let's go.
Oh my God. You guys are crazy. $10 from Vernon Dalens. Wow. Delencient Pterodactyl. I really struggle with that one. I'm not going to lie.
Challenging us, my God.
I don't know why YouTube decided to change over to usernames instead of your handle. I hate it. Pamela, get a life for fuck's sake. I was initially concerned that Sarah started with a lack of interest in dresses, but the conversation addressed that later and went on to identity. Yeah, no, I mean, again, self-identified TERF. We knew where she was going.
Thank you for the $5 from Joshua Everett 9887. Eric is a mediocre guy whose mom was way too complimentary of his 87 IQ and 3.1 ninth grade GPA. Damn, Josh.
Savage. He just sounded like a typical conspiracy guy. They're corrupting the data, man. I can't show you how, but it's happening. $5 from Violet Vampirist. I'm sorry, Eric. I'm gonna keep trusting my doctor more than some dude shaking his fist at the cloud.
Thank you for the $10 Canadian from Heelys on Wheelies. Pamela is why Australia's ecosystem wants to kill them, and Eric should consider moving to Australia too. It's wild to see people with absolutely nothing to stand on besides their BS opinions talk us.
Yep.
Well, now there are some people in Australia who are very good people. Not so much.
Australia's pretty good politically, right? Like, listen.
Look,
they're iffy. They're having their moment, right? They're having their little rise of
Yeah.
fascism moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, and it's partly our fault, so I feel bad.
Yeah. Us exporting our garbage shit to everywhere else. $5 from Melatonin Ally. Oh my, Zerba, these last few calls made me reach for my blood pressure meds. Typical misogynist response to call women who just schooled him angry. I just thought that was hilarious. I was like, bro, again, like, that is like an actual ad hominem fallacy. He's like, well, this is stupid and you guys are wrong just because you're angry. Like, I mean, that wasn't what he literally said, but that was basically what he was trying to imply with what he said, which I'm like, amazing, iconic.
Also,
Cool,
at no
I'm
point
angry.
during this have I been angry. Like, they have to try a lot harder to make me angry.
It's the fact that I rose my voice. Oh, was I talking a little too harsh a tone for you? Yeah, I'm sorry. If you knew half the shit I've been through, trust me, you'll know when I'm angry. Wasn't then. I can't remember who it is. $5, £5 from Barbara Barrett. Well done, Arden, but redheads gotta stick together. Hashtag Team Jack.
Hell yeah. Thank you for the $5 from Barry-tastic. This is my first super chat. Oh, congratulations.
Ooh.
Love what you do, Arden, and how you handle the spice fucking trolls. Haha. Hashtag Team Snack Mom. HRT or death, just let me live. Let's go. Love that for you, Barry-tastic.
I appreciate it, you guys. I felt like I was on good form today. I like very intentionally lost my cool over justified reasons. So $4.99, Catherine Astronaut. Lost my job this past Friday. Interviews as a trans woman in blue collar jobs is really tough. I was there where Panda's partner is. It takes time, for sure.
Oof. Thank you for the 15 shekels from Poetical Irony. Hashtag Team Retbin.
Yes, I saw Matt was telling people to ask about because we have so many snakes, we breed rodents for feeding. And I accidentally bred a tailless rat, and he is very cute. And I named him Britches, and I bought a bonding pouch so that he can sit with me while I work, and I can feed him little yogurt treats. Or sorry, I think it's a girl. It's really hard to tell because the way that you sex them is when you pull up the tail, you measure the distance between their butthole and whatever part they got. And you can't really do that the same way when they don't got a tail. So I think she's a girl. Not really sure. 5 Canadarinos from Quantum Chaos. The edibles just kicked in. Anyone here remember Pogs? Those things were awesome. I had a bunch of slammers. Anyways, that's all. Bye. Hashtag Team Arden. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the $10 from Violet Vampiress. I was really hoping to get to talk to Jack today, but my topic because of my location, but I will definitely try to call back next week. Y'all are awesome. Hashtag Team Minnesota.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
All right, we're going pretty fast, but I'm realizing it's less than 10 minutes to the hour, so gotta crank these out. Violet Vampiress. Oh, just so I don't come across as biased towards the state. Hashtag Team Jack.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Thank you for the $10 Australian from Darren McAuliffe. Points to Luke for providing a source.
For real.
Yeah.
Even if the source,
unironically.
what I've seemed to be is that the case was citing an Abigail Schreier thing that misquoted Marcy Bowers is what it seemed like chat was indicating. Again, I haven't read it, so I would actually have to look into it to know, but Joshua Everett, $5. I forgot the customary guest vote. Hashtag Team Jack. Hell yeah.
Thank you for the $5 from Atlas53580. I want to apologize. I thought Luke would be more of a troll. He was a more honest caller. Hashtag Team Jack. True.
Yeah. $10 from Mr. Boricua 10, pronounced Boricua, roll the R, teensy bit. Pamela and Eric, some of the worst arguments to ever disgrace my ear. I hope they learn to grow. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Boricua.
Thank you for the 15 shekels from Poetical Irony. I get a shot once a month, so not 19 days, but 19 months. June 2027 is still a long way away, but at least it's single payer. # Team Jack.
Hell yeah. It's more of my frustration with why we send so much fucking money to Israel. I'm like, bitch, they got universal health care and we don't. And we're sending them this much money? Are you serious? $5 from SJL. Good to see a redhead. Remember, ginger is more yellow than red. Cinnamon or chipotle would work better. # Jack.
I mean, me having chipotle hair, that makes sense. I'm not gonna be mad. I eat too much of it. Thank you for the $5 from Squirrel Knitter. Just here for the fishnets. # Team Jack.
Oh, is that what's winning? Yeah, Congress must wear exposed fishnets is the winning topic. Okay.
Yeah.
$20 from Violet Vampirist. Have one more donation in honor of Pamela, the infantilizer of women and defender of none. Defender of imagination. Yeah.
Thank you for the $5 from Sans Deity. Yes, it's silly of me to super chat to my own network, but these two were awesome today. And even if it gets me in trouble, Team Jackie. And for the record,
Jack.
my name is just Jack, but it's okay.
Awesome.
Thank you for voting for me.
Thanks, Matt. $5 from Ashleal6590. # Team Jack. That's all. Short and sweet. I like it.
Thank you for the $20 Canadian from Ayla Ursus. Team Jack. Hope you have her on again. I'd be delighted.
Absolutely. This is great. $10 from Hedonista 7593. Here's my money. I encourage Pamela to call me to call in. Mea Maximo Culpa, the most ridiculously obtuse call I've ever heard. No worries.
Oh.
Listen, I'm happy to try it out. But yikes.
Thank you for the $10 Australian Cliff V2H. Organize, y'all. Join DSA, join local Dems and move them left. Do protests, local aid, help strikes, build community and solidarity. # Team Arden, because I want Jack to defend the silly.
Yeah, often when somebody's getting a lot of votes, it's really because they want to hear the other person talk more. $5 from Meltone Ale again. Jack, I love your hair color. You remind me of Simone Simmons, singer from Epica, not just because of the hair color. # Team Arden.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the $10 from Nightlight Plushy Jesus. Changing my marriage license and birth certificate this week so I can get my passport. Hell yeah. Good luck. #
Right
Team
on.
Jack.
Yeah, I haven't gotten my passport, so the next one I get is going to have mail on it, unfortunately. But I really don't care about the passport. It's more of like, how is the TSA agent going to treat me, you know?
Exactly. Right?
Hello? Did you bring up britches?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
They want to say britches, so I thought I'd bring the britches up.
Arden, you can just tell us about a cute animal and not show us. Wow, good timing. Here, you can hold this. I trust him. Or her. Whatever they are. So this is Britches. You can see she got no tail. I think she looks like she has a hamster butt. But she's very sweet and very cute.
Goodness.
Look at that little face. Come on, camera focus.
Yeah.
Adorable.
Just want to feed it tacos.
Right? I did give her a pepperoni earlier. I was making pizza and I was like, you get a pepperoni. Yeah, we'll set that there. All right, that was the last super. So it looks like, Jack, are you ready to spend 2 minutes defending?
Wait, did you read my super?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure Jack gets credit.
Okay, hold on. Let me get this ready. I got to get our timer set up. All right, and then host left is the winner, and the topic is Congress must wear exposed fishnets. Wear exposed fishnets. All right. Bring that scoreboard down, and oops, I'm not on the screen for that. Why is that built that way? Hold on, sorry, something broke. That is supposed to be this. There we go. All right, let's do this. Charging up the clock. Ready in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so my argument here is that Congress must wear exposed fishnets because it supplies a superior airflow. And as we all know, many of the people in Congress are old and could benefit from a maximum amount of air flowing into all regions of their body. And I think that this is, it would also make them look fabulous and have to adopt new styles of dress. And it might even affect their argumentation, right? Like they might actually have to put forward the idea that you can wear fishnets regardless of your gender or sexuality. And that might actually improve our entire political system and conversation. And I think that that is self-evident. And I just also want to say that, you know, when you see Mitch McConnell strutting in those heels, like he's going to either just do some queen shit or he's going to take a tumble. And like, I think either way, it's going to be a way for us to maybe put a de facto age limit, as well as ensure maximum attitude for all involved. I think that, you know, the more attitude we have, the more political openness we have. And I think there's no downside here. Literally none. I can't think of a single downside to this plan whatsoever. I mean, other than, hey, it gets cold in Washington, D.C., but you know what? They can wear some like breakaway pants. You know, they can put on some like long skirts. And I think that we can all benefit from this. It's just a no-brainer. All right.
Listen, if we were to ever give out an award for the best defense, I gotta say, this might force a de facto age limit on Congress is probably the funniest thing I've heard. I love that so much. All right. Well, if you want to plug your stuff again one more time before we roll out, and then we will say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah, you can find me under Riverboat Jack on all of the platforms. I stream on Twitch, on YouTube, again, most weeknights, and just Riverboat Jack. I have a lot of content on YouTube you can take a look at. I've been going through a lot of what if alt hist analysis. If anyone knows who that content creator is, I've been debunking his historical and social takes, we'll say. A lot of that, and also just talking about politics and organizing locally, and would encourage everyone to come and check it out.
Right on. Thank you so much for being here. Genuinely, it was so much fun, and I hope we get you back soon.
Yeah, I would love to do it anytime. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. So we're going to roll out now, everybody. Stick around if you want to see more with Luxander and Jimmy. If you stay in the chat, it'll automatically put over you to Calling It Now. And if you want to get your name listed here as one of our many patron producers, go support us over on patreon.com/calltheline. Thanks, guys. See you next week.